sent
give that to you.
Yeah, you sent me one of the. I don't know if you did or Dougie did, but the all over shield one.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that was from a
You got that already?
Yeah.
Did it get thrown in the fire?
No.
Okay. Well, now you got another.
Yeah, now we got the oval shield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The FMF. The FMF shield.
That's what it is.
It's a combo. It's the FMF shield with the panda jersey.
I almost sold one today, and dude was like, I gotta ask my wife first.
Oh, you almost sold a jersey?
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, we
have them up here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right.
I was trying hard, man. He was like, I can't.
into this.
I was like, tell her you want it. He was like, she'll see my bank statement. I was like,
all right, we're gonna. Yeah, let's do a little intro.
All right.
Yeah. Ready? Yep. It's Chad here, Powrers Bike Shop, Powrers BMX Museum. We're here with this guy, Chris Moeller, living legend. We're just gonna take a little tour through the museum. He just gave me one of his Pond Fest jerseys that he's been wearing for a while. We'll find another one in here in a minute, but yeah.
All right. Yeah, I've been staying away from the museum all weekend during the 20th anniversary jam, kind of saving it up for this evening. So let's get into this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, wherever it kind of goes. We got the library, and then it kind of just goes oldest to newest to the front.
So oldest is over here.
Yep.
And then you move that way, it's actually like
Gets
chronological, gets newer.
For pretty close, yeah.
So there's nothing different about the two aisles?
One side's more freestyle, one side's more race. Yeah.
Okay. And which side's the freestyle side?
This side.
The side over here?
But all the S&Ms are in one section.
And what is, so like, what's the significance of the Rasta ATF up here?
It was just a limited run you guys did.
I feel like that's a friend you can sell.
Oh yeah, but
You could probably sell.
same with the American
all of these.
Speedway.
Oh shit, you got that too?
Yeah.
Oh man, so they went straight to the museum.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Mikey sent me this not too long ago.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
So this is basically like, this is like your retirement. This is a retirement fund.
Yeah.
Right, so everyone else has got a 401k. You got the 401. You got the 4130k.
Yeah.
Over here. So when you're old and gray and nobody wants to buy a brand new BMX bike, this stuff's all hitting the eBay.
Yeah.
And you're gonna retire to
cash out big time.
You're gonna cash out to the Bahamas or something.
Yeah.
All right. Well, man, there's some crazy stuff up here. The Z frame.
Yep.
What do you think about that? Like, what is the purpose of the Z frame?
I don't know what their purpose
The
is.
80s was a weird experimental time, and just everybody had their own little weird niche and design, and that's what all
Well, I'm
I
just
think
gonna
that
throw
really
this
was.
out there, but so I knew Roger Worsham, the guy that did CW. You know, that was Coast Wheels, I think, was his bike shop, and then he started CW, and he actually manufactured S&M Bikes for a number of years. And I think the Z frame had something to do with one of their team riders named Andy Zerzow.
Oh really?
Yeah, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I guess it's too late. It's probably too late. But I thought maybe Andy Zerzow had something to do with that. Zerzow Z frame. I think they all broke.
They all did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want a frame with the
The zigzag.
with a zigzag in the down tube. That's just weird.
Yeah.
You know. What else do you got?
What was your first photo in a magazine?
My very first photo in a magazine was probably the 1986 issue of BMX Action magazine. Yeah. You have it?
Let's do that first.
Wow. Oh my. It actually, you know what? This is not too deep, but we're just gonna go with this.
All right.
I actually did appear before I have an actual photo of me riding.
Yeah.
I appear in a really old issue of Freestyling magazine in a Cycle Pro ad.
Yeah.
Where I'm doing a turn down on a weird Cycle Pro.
Would you remember what it was?
We would be here for a while.
Okay.
So we're gonna skip that.
Well,
Because I just happened to go to like some Hollywood studio. I got this like little job
yeah.
to be in this ad, and so I think that might have been the very first time I showed up.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but let's go with BMX Action magazine. Not this issue, because that was maybe not this issue. I mean, we're kind of in the neighborhood. That was the first time I think I got a really good photo in this one. Let's start here. Wow. Look at this is like it's like
You
the
flip right
Smithsonian. It's like the Smithsonian of BMX over here. Because I think there's like a test. Okay. Oh no, I may have nailed it. Boom.
Yeah?
That's it. That's it right there. First issue I pulled out. June 1986. So back then there was like a 3-month lag between when the photo shoots happened and the magazines actually came out. So it took a long time to print the mag, distribute the mag in the mail, the whole deal. So this photo is probably from, March of 1986. Actually, it was probably February because I remember this day and it was like really cold down by the beach where these were taken. So probably February 86. These are the first photos here. This is me, and this is me, and this is me, and this is my buddy Mike, who we built the trails.
Okay.
So this article is called Local Thrashing, and then they went to a couple different spots. So this one spot was called Honda Hills, and then one spot was called Parks, and then this spot was called Lucky's because it was across the street from a Lucky's store. A grocery store.
We don't have those over here.
Oh, you don't have Lucky's? So Lucky's was just like it was just like a grocery store.
Yeah.
And then we named all of our jumps like this one. This jump right here, they the Vandy Camp Catapult. Vandy Camp was like a brand that made, like canned vegetables, like green beans or whatever. So this is the Vandy Camp Catapult. We named everything after the grocery store.
That's so funny.
It's super fun. And my dad was like the assistant manager of the grocery store.
That's so
at the
funny.
time. So anyway, that's the first one. Oh, I'm signing it?
Yeah.
Wow. No, this is pretty cool. And I always wonder, like, who are these kids down here?
Like, who are they? Do you think they're still around?
These kids here, I think one of them actually is Skip Pronier, the pro skateboarder that skated for Black Label. I talked to him quite a bit nowadays on like Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think he's one of these guys.
That's awesome.
Skip lived across the street from the jumps.
Yeah.
And he rode BMX and then he eventually became a pro skateboarder, and I think he's one of these dudes.
Oh wow.
Skip Pronier, but I don't know exactly who it is. But yeah, this was it, man.
That's sick.
This is the first issue. Love it.
What about your first cover?
Probably 2 months after this.
Oh yeah.
I made it to the front real quick after this because I became the test rider.
Yeah.
Which means that every month we evaluated a bike or two, and I would be the dude that would test it, and then I was pretty good at like writing. So I started actually writing the tests.
Was that you on this?
No, I did go out with these guys.
Did you?
They call this GPV, gravity powered vehicles. So they're just like death trap, BMX bikes converted to stay low and fly down these hills in LA. It's pretty nuts actually.
Was it scary? Did you ride one down?
Yeah, I did ride down a few times. I actually crashed one into a guardrail, and yeah, it was a little gnarly.
Yeah.
I mean, do you really want to look at this?
I don't want to do that.
This is like a 16-inch bike with the bar. It's like, do you really want to do this?
Yeah.
No. So do we have a cover in there or not?
Might have been 87 then?
I don't know, man. There should be a, I thought there would have been a cover in 86. One of these years there's a couple covers, and I got like 3 in 1 year. I know, I'll tell you a funny story about this issue though. So out of that other issue that we just looked at, where we did the Lucky's local thrashing, my buddy Mike Smith had the cover of this issue.
Yeah.
And they called him and even told him, you have the cover.
Yeah.
And he was so hyped. He was going to be on the cover of BMX Action. He went and told everybody. But in the end, GT was a big advertiser. Kevin Hall rode for GT. And they were like, hey, why are you putting this like weird no-name dude on the cover of the magazine? You should put our dude on. So then they changed it. And this dude got on the cover instead of my buddy Mike.
That's funny.
Rough. Oh, that's my first cover.
There it is.
Okay, so this is the first cover I ever got of BMX Action. My first ever free pair of Vans tennis shoes. Still wearing them.
Same shoes.
Almost 40 years later. Yeah, same pair.
Yeah, same pair.
Exact same pair. No, I got these shoes for free. I remember being like just so pumped on that. And at the time, S&M didn't even exist.
Yeah.
So my frame sponsor was called Privateer. That's why I have that sticker right there, Privateer. That was my frame sponsor. So I was trying to pump them up. And this photo shoot took place like up in LA in the Hollywood Hills area with Eric Roop. Mongoose, it's a mongoose test.
Yeah.
And this was one of the first spots ever that had like a rhythm section, like had actual doubles.
Yeah.
Like multiple doubles, and there it is right there.
Okay.
So so back then, the only thing you had was like you come out of the berm, you pedal, then you hit one double jump.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then this spot was called this spot was called Nothing. It was Eric's spot. He actually made like motocross style, supercross style jumps.
Yeah.
It was the first place I ever saw that had
What
that.
Jennifer said that he built the first.
Yeah,
rhythm
this
section.
is a touchy. It's a touchy
Yeah,
subject. It's very tight. It's very tight.
Okay.
It's got the Genicor black track.
Yep.
Yeah, so Mike's black track, Roop's Nothing. I don't know. Maybe they happened at the same time.
Okay.
I have heard Genicor tell me that he had the first spot,
Yeah.
and I always say, I don't know, man. I think this might have been the
Yeah.
first spot.
Awesome.
But you know, Genicor's a badass dude.
Still riding the chest protector.
Yeah. So yeah, I gave it to him.
Yeah, that's what he said.
It's
When he
probably
was here.
that one. It's
Yeah.
this is probably his. I don't know.
When he was here, though, he came down and he was in the Greystoke, and he
Right.
said it was your chest protector that he was wearing in that photo.
Right, it was a yellow
Yep,
one though,
yep.
right? I think it was a yellow one. So yeah, I mean this was it, man. This is the first cover. And
Made your autograph on that too.
oh, you're kidding me. Which
Yeah.
one? This one?
On the cover.
Oh, the cover.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
holy moly. All right.
How many of these have you signed?
Not many. I
Really?
mean, I don't think many people, I mean, back then, I
Yeah.
probably signed a ton of them.
Okay.
Back in, 3-month lag. So this photo shoot took place at the end of 86.
Yeah.
And the photo comes out in February 87. But back then I probably signed a bunch,
Yeah.
but not in 30 years.
Cool.
But I'm happy to do it. I can't get enough BMX action, you know? I think this was probably like the only magazine my parents kept.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I think that my mom and my dad both have like this issue floating around.
That's cool.
And then they were like, okay, that's it with that. Done with, he's a BMX guy.
That's sick.
So then that year, I think I got a couple more covers. And then I ended up getting on a cover of Freestyling too.
Yeah.
I don't know, do you keep Freestyling here? Oh yeah? Never got on Go, but man, those were good years. Freestyle, BMX action and Freestyling had like had its own vibe. And I think it was really influential in like blowing up the whole, it's probably 88.
88. 6.
Yeah, and I mean, I think my head's even cut off. But yeah, I did get on Freestyling them. To be like a BMX, like a race guy. Oh, that's that one right there, yeah.
This one?
No, this one. To be a race guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but look, but what's cool about this is what year is this? 88?
Is that a Mad Dog?
It's a Mad Dog, yeah. So it's camo, like, but it's hand done. Like I spray painted this, but you got the shield on the front, and I'm like out riding street or whatever, and you just didn't see like race guys getting in freestyling that often. It was just like a whole new era was starting right here, where I was a BMX racer, dirt jumper, but I was riding street and doing whatever. And I think like that's how the sport changed at that time.
Yeah.
Like guys just became like, we're just bike riders.
BMXers were not.
Yeah,
Racers were not this. Yeah.
We were doing everything. And I'm doing everything on the same bike,
Yeah.
which nobody else was doing. Like I'm out riding street and like a fast plant or whatever's going on here. Dirt jumping, racing, all on the same bike. Before that, it was like the freestyle bike had all kinds of... The freestyle bike had all kinds of stuff all over it. I mean, they didn't all fold in the middle. Yeah, they didn't swivel. But look at all this stuff. You got the Spin Tech, and this had all kinds of stuff on it when it came out.
Yeah, we have some over there.
Like all the stuff's missing from this,
Yep.
right? But you got pegs, you got multiple peg positions, you got front brakes, you got, like the front brake even locks. You want to lock it up? Yeah, just lock it up. Like, who needs to lock up their brake? Lock up your brake. You got a standing platform here. You got all kinds of stuff going on. And then you got an S&M in 88. It was just a bike.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think this was the first time S&M was printed? Like, the logo or ad or anything?
Like on a cover or in some big way?
Yeah, anywhere.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, it probably is.
Do you remember your first ad that you ran?
I don't think we ever had an ad in there.
Okay.
Couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
There's no way we could have afforded. I mean, these were all ads. This was like the S&M. This was like the secret weapon.
Yeah.
Is that I was getting the bike on the cover and in these articles and the sticker, and I always had the sticker.
Yeah.
I was the ad. We couldn't afford the ad,
Okay.
but we could afford me.
Yeah.
I'm cheap. You know?
I got something else. Yeah. I don't know if these
Oh wow! You
autographs or something, or I don't know who this
What
would
is
be.
this?
Or
S&M
if it was just somebody that wrote on it.
44 something. So this is an old. This isn't our oldest video.
Yeah. It has the original.
Oh wow, that's wild. You have that.
Yeah. But the first video was what? Feel my chest muscles on my racer or something?
Something like that. No, the first video was called "Feel My Leg Muscles."
Feel my leg muscles. Yeah.
On a racer, and that was like a pickup line that Dave Clymer. I overheard Dave Clymer use with a girl at a bar.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and I thought, "No, are you kidding me, man? Like that's the pickup line. Like feel my leg muscles."
Yeah.
You know.
I'm a BMX racer.
So then that just ended up being the title of the video, which I mean, it's just the stupidest.
Yeah,
thing
that's
ever.
so funny.
And it's a terrible video, but I
then-
mean,
now
it was
you
one
got-
of the first videos. Do you have that one?
I don't. Not yet.
I thought this was such a good museum.
That's what sucks.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
But 44 something was good. I mean, the videos got better
Yeah.
over the years, right? Because you got video 4, BMX Inferno. The
then it
names
kinda
didn't get any better, but videos got better.
Then I guess it kind of went into DVDs after that.
DVDs, yeah, like that was somebody.
Please Kill Me was awesome.
That's a great
Yeah.
Wiz and Shervo made that basically,
Yeah.
and it came out great. This was Hoder's idea to make.
Yeah, that one was
to
cool
do, To do
too.
4 big trips, make it a box set
Yeah.
of 4 videos, and that was a great idea. And these
Yeah.
are all pretty good. These are pretty.
They were good.
videos,
Yeah. Please Kill Me was definitely one of my favorite videos.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got to be in the running for the best
Yeah.
S&M video ever, right?
I would think so. So far.
Yeah.
What else is cool? I have some.
Hey, look at this. He's got just an unboxed BMX Inferno just sitting here. It's like crazy.
Some original Greg Higgins
Yeah.
work, and then I have over here some more of the Slam Dancer that he drew, and
Yeah.
a whole bunch of other stuff that he drew, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, like the circle jerk style
Yeah,
slam
yeah.
bar, the original. Actually, it's not the original slam bar.
It's
The original slam bar is pretty
just
terrible.
Had S&M in a red.
No, it said
sticker.
Slam.
Or just Slam.
Yeah,
Okay,
slam bar. And that we didn't do that for very long, but it pretty quickly became the circle jerks, little
Yeah.
skank dancer guy. But yeah, man, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
move on.
What side do you want to go down?
Well, this stuff looks real old.
Yep.
So let's just go down this. Let's just go down this aisle. I mean, this stuff is like this is how I started right here. My very first bike that I remember was a shock bike. It looked just like this right here. It was actually a Royce Union. Is this a Royce
That's a
Union?
Royce Union right
Okay,
there.
then that's
Yeah.
the bike. This is the first. This is the first bike that I remember riding BMX on. Was this exact bike?
Really?
It's crazy that I just put my hand on that.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. My dad bought it. My parents bought it for me for Christmas. It's like a cheap imitation of a Yamaha
Yep.
shock bike. I don't know if you have the Yamaha in here.
Yep, right there you
Oh
go.
yeah, so that was the real deal right there. But that was
Yeah.
really expensive.
Yeah.
And then this was sold at department stores.
Mhm.
And yeah, this was the first bike I had. I'm
Wow,
sure
that's crazy.
it is. And,
Was
and
it orange? Do you remember what
It was
color?
orange.
No way.
It had the orange tank. It had the orange. Yeah, this is it. This is the bike. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And then in another interview, I heard your first real bike was a Race Inc.
No, my first real bike. So I had this bike, and I was probably 8, something like that. This was probably like 77, 78, somewhere around there. My brother convinced me to jump over a fence on this bike, and I didn't get over the fence, and I ended up really ripping my lip in half.
Yeah.
and having to get surgery and the whole deal to get my lip put back together. And that was on this bike.
We have a ramp outside over a fence if you want me to clump these tires up. And
Do you have
try
sharp
again.
nails just like sticking out?
You can try it again.
And you have just a bunch of sharp
There's
nails
barbed
sticking
wire
out?
on the
Yeah.
top.
Yeah. Is my brother here?
Yeah.
Is that what's going on? You gonna bring him out?
Oh man.
So yeah, that was the first bike, and then my second bike would have been. I actually kind of like maybe I had a Schwinn, you know, a Stingray.
Yeah.
Around the same time, or maybe right after this. But anyway, then my first like decent bike was a Webco.
Okay.
So I don't know if you have Webcos.
The only Webco I have is.
But I guarantee I broke this thing into like pieces.
Yeah.
Pieces.
The only Webco I have is this shocked Webco.
Oh yeah, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
But I rode GTs too, because I met the GT, you know, Long family.
Uh-huh.
Not long after I started, like when I was 11 or something. So I had a GT that they actually gave me a GT, and then later, you know, I worked for CW to do S&M. I currently race this exact bike
Yeah.
on the vintage scene, the Motomag.
Does yours have? Does it have tough wheels? Or
It
is
had
Roto Mag?
Motomags. I ended up taking them off and putting spokes on it
Yeah.
because the Motomags are just so heavy.
Yeah.
They're so heavy.
There's a Dan Gurney with Moto Mags.
Yeah. So these Motomags, I have some of these. They're always going to say it's hard to find a set that doesn't have the spokes broken,
Yeah.
and your spokes are broken.
Yep.
If you get a set of these without the brakes, they're
Yeah.
pretty valuable. And back in the day, people just cut these out.
Yeah, because we wanted them your 8-pound wheels to be lighter.
Yeah, you want 8-pound wheels to be 7 3/4 pounds. Yeah. Some of this stuff is like very East Coast, like this MCS.
Yeah.
We didn't have those in California. I mean, this was a super popular bike, PK Ripper. I've actually snapped one of those myself.
Awesome.
Yeah, I borrowed it. I went on a trip to Hawaii and I borrowed a PK Ripper from a guy, broke it. This is the original right here.
Yeah, it's kind of what BMX started on,
This is
really.
the original BMX bike. Yeah, but I mean, they would take this bike and they would cut this whole front end off, and they would put a whole new front end on it. I don't know if you have one that's been modified, but yeah, they would take this bike, cut the whole front triangle off, put a straight top tube, a straight down tube, and probably reuse this head tube.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of the like specs that we still use to this day on bikes all came from this.
Yeah.
Like this bottom bracket size came from this bike.
Yeah, American bottom bracket.
Still use it, 2 1/4. It's just a 2 1/4 tube, you know. So a lot of specs that we still use, like hub spacing. Well, these were narrower actually in the front, but a lot of stuff came from that. That's basically the archetype for BMX frames. So yeah, they would cut the whole front end off and make it a
Yeah.
newer-
I haven't seen anything
Yeah,
like that yet.
that's what people used to do.
RevCore,
that's CW.
Yep. And then they have that little external butted tubing like we were talking about with the
Yep.
LTF earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever work with Speed Unlimited in New Jersey?
I didn't know.
Okay. But that's where I got all those jigs from. The Hutch jig.
Oh, okay.
This is the Patterson Pro jig right there.
Oh, the jig is down
Yeah.
there. Oh man, I didn't see that. So this should have been made in NorCal, right?
All of these jigs came from Speed Unlimited.
And they were in New Jersey?
Yeah.
So this is just the front triangle.
Yep.
So they would have been making the front triangle separate and then putting the back end on it, which is, you know, it's a good way to do it. And it's that model?
Yeah, the Patterson Pro.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, Pattersons were kind of ahead of their time because they were starting to get longer.
Yeah.
You know, like look how long the back end is.
Compared to all the other ones.
Yeah. Well, wow, this is wild, man. Is it marked Patterson on it anywhere?
It says Patterson Pro on the other side.
Oh, just a sticker, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, but it's written pro.
Yeah.
Did you pay a lot for these, or did you just get a deal on this, or what?
I can't really say, but the dude who got them to me was really stoked that they're here. And
You ever talked to the Pattersons?
I haven't.
Like when I was at Frogtown just a few weeks ago, or what was it? Maybe it was in September.
Yeah.
They're all there. Brent's
That's
there,
awesome.
Brian's
Yeah.
there, their dad, Vance.
Okay.
He's still alive. They're
Wow.
all there. They have a big party at their
Yeah.
house at the race every year.
Okay.
I wonder if they know you have that.
I wonder if those came from Cali and like Speed Unlimited bought 'em
Maybe.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, they had quite a few people make Pattersons. Boss,
Yeah.
you know, Carlo Lucia at Boss made them. GT at one point.
Yeah.
And Huntington Beach made them. So I don't know. Torker, I mean, that's another Southern California brand.
Yeah.
Magoo worked there. Redline, I mean, this is classic stuff. I think this is an imported Redline, like made in Japan probably.
Yeah.
It's not an American one. But, you know, Redline, Lynn Caston invented the BMX fork. Do you have any of the original Redline forks?
I don't. Yeah. But I do have a with a Redline square back over there in the case.
Oh, wow.
But none of the forks.
You've got the smoked chrome Diamondback.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got, I mean, you have some really cool stuff.
Did you ever ride the plastic attic sprockets?
No, I avoided that gimmick. I mean, that's just a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I own them. I
Yeah.
have some at home.
Yeah.
I have attic sprockets that I just keep in my little,
A reminder not to do this?
I don't know how I ended up with it, but I mean, what a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want a plastic sprocket? That's awful. I don't know. But, you know, I rode a lot of Robinsons. I've worked there. This is pre my era.
Okay.
Like, by the time I started riding for Robinson and working at Robinson, the gusset was gone. Do you have any Bassets?
I right up there, that black frame is
Yeah.
Billy
Oh.
Griggs's Bassett.
Oh, wow. So I rode, that's a cruiser.
Yep.
I rode a 20-inch version of that frame, and it's just a funny story because Chuck, who owned Robinson, you know, he never was a manufacturer, but he was a brand, you know, he had a nice brand going. He went to Bassett to have his bikes made, and they built a whole bunch of his bikes, and they had a bunch of his pieces of his bikes, the loop tail back end, and at some point he couldn't pay his bill, and they said, okay, fine, and they just took his parts and made Bassets.
Really?
Yeah, that's how Bassett's came about.
Okay.
Because they were just a boat header company.
Yeah.
And they had built a cruiser so people could ride around the pits at the boat races, but they had no interest in making a BMX bike.
Yeah.
Until Chuck kind of stuck them with a bunch of parts, like loop tail rear
Yeah.
ends, head tubes,
Wow.
bottom brackets, dropouts, whatever. And that's how the Bassett bike came about. And that's why the fork on the Bassett has the, you know, straight leg.
Uh-huh.
This isn't the right fork for this
Yeah.
bike. It should have the Robinson fork, which
Yeah.
is straight. You know, it's like that. It's like the Mongoose fork.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how Bassett bikes came about.
Wow. Okay.
It's interesting. They weren't
Yeah.
they weren't interested, I don't think, in being in the BMX business.
They're still around. Kinda.
Yeah, what are the kids? There's like
Yeah.
there's a couple kids of the original owner. Like somehow the kids are like running that brand again. But they kept making the boat headers the whole time, and they made S&Ms for a long time
Okay.
in the '90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like before we made our stuff ourselves. That was like the manufacturer I worked with the most. Now, of course, Elf. You know, like we bought all their equipment when they went out of business. That's how we kind of got our start
Yeah.
in making stuff. But these were like super popular on the West Coast.
Yeah. Anytime I hear stories about somebody having one on the East Coast, it was like, oh, that was my dream bike. You know,
Yeah.
not too many people had them.
Yeah, the extra light frame.
Yeah.
The Elf. Yeah, that was like a SoCal thing, but did pretty good. I think Ken, the owner, you know, he's passed away, but his kid Ken Jr. is kind of he's doing it again. So I think Elf has kind of come back too.
This is one of my favorite little bikes. The whole shot that somebody broke the head tube off and re-welded it. It's got little mini vector bars on it.
Yeah, because that wasn't really like a race bar. That was a freestyle bar.
Yeah, but those are tiny. Like they're short.
Well, yeah, by today's standards, huh?
Yeah.
It's crazy that people rode these bikes with no front tires.
Yeah. But I have the original jigs back
Oh,
there
do
for
you?
these too. Yeah.
Oh, we got to get into the jig section
All
here
right.
soon. So what's going on now? We're getting kind of into like some. Oh, look at
Yes,
this.
sir. And then yeah, here's your.
Okay. Oh wow! I already donated a jersey today.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going double jersey. I'll be one of the few that's gone double jersey. What do you got over here? You got all kinds of stuff, huh? Jeez, where'd you get this? You get this off the space shuttle? What's
Yeah.
this?
A Jayhawk.
Oh my goodness.
Remember Hawk Bikes?
Yep.
Yeah, this was his coming back to BMX world like 5 years
Right.
ago.
Oh my, the Swiss cheese. It's got the Swiss cheese
Yeah.
head tube here.
It's pop riveted.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, like what makes you think that would be awesome?
Maybe the guy designed bridges,
Yeah.
you know? For, who knows? What else you got over here?
This is an East Coast builder, H&H Bikes.
Yep.
I don't know if you were familiar with them. They're from Philly.
I don't know much about H&H Bikes. You actually made these in Philly?
Yeah. Harry Ham Newton.
Wow, he went big on the dropout, huh? That
Yeah.
rear dropout's massive. I never saw one of these in real world. What is this here?
Supercross.
Really?
Yeah.
It's something. Did somebody like back their car into the
That's
seat
what it looks
stays?
like.
What happened there?
That's why they were made. And then they did that.
This
like,
is Bill Ryan?
I'm pretty sure that's it. And then they did the
I never saw one of these.
the 5-bar one.
Oh my. Pro Concepts. Yeah, that was another SoCal
Yeah.
phenomenon there, huh?
Oh, if the Rasta bike down there with the forks?
Yeah. I know what that is. Don't tell me what that is.
Okay.
Bontrager.
No,
Cyclecraft.
you're close. It was built by Cycle.
Built by Cyclecraft. Block bikes.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
This is Bartlett?
Yeah.
This was Bartlett's bike that he had Cyclecraft build?
Yep.
Okay.
Nah, it's not Rich's. It's
Yeah, but I
number,
mean, it was his
It's number
thing.
6, yeah, that he had built.
That's funny. See how the dropouts are double?
Yep.
And see how the dropouts in the back are doubled up?
Yep.
So Rich and I both rode for Privateer
Uh-huh.
prior to S&M. And we both wanted our dropouts doubled up. And people think it's because we were super hard on our bikes.
Yeah.
Partly, but a lot of the reason why we both talked about having the dropouts doubled up like this is because when you traveled all the time, you take your bike in and out of the box,
Uh-huh.
and you're tightening your axle nuts, and your dropouts start to spread,
Yeah.
and everything gets mangled.
So it was just for taking your
That
bike
was a
off.
big part of it. So Rich and I both had Privateers
Wow.
that had doubled up dropouts, and then I quit Privateer and started S&M, and then I guess Rich went on to do this right around that same time.
Yeah, it's
And
probably.
we both had the doubled up dropouts, but the Martinos, who own Cyclecraft, made this for Rich, right?
Yeah.
And he rode for Cyclecraft.
I don't know.
He did.
At one point,
And I
yeah.
think he might have even stayed at their house. I know BF
Yeah.
used to stay at their house.
Uh-huh. But that was Rich said BF painted that.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, double dropouts right here, S&M. And
Rich called and ordered some spokes from us.
Yeah.
And I was, after we did everything, I was like, yo, man, you got a second? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I got your number 6 bike. And he was like, yo. He
this
was
is
like,
6?
yeah. And he was like, that's the red, or the green, red, yellow one. Like, blah, blah, blah. I sent it to this guy, and it was this guy's bike. And I'm like, how do you remember
Whose
that?
bike was it? Billy Harrison?
It was a dude that lived here on the East Coast, and I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Huh.
But Rich knew exactly who it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
The
Took
dude
me
I got it
3
from-
guesses. Took me 3 guesses
Yeah.
to get that. But at least I got it. It really looked like a cycle. I mean, that dropout, and that wishbone, and that Cyclecraft.
Yeah, the only thing that's
And the
different.
extended leg.
The only thing that's
Yeah.
different is from a cyclecraft. The C tube is pierced and it goes all the way over to the chains, like the Challengers.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, no, Challengers.
and the
weren't.
Challengers is more like.
Challengers were 2 pieces.
Yeah.
But this is like the new, like the LAMF.
Yep.
Frame is like this. The pierced, the pierced top tube. Wow. All right, well, I don't feel so bad. 3 tries is not too bad. This is like a full rad movie bike, huh?
Yeah.
Like straight off the set from Bart Connor, Bill Allen. And the Vector, too. Jeez. This is an odd one right here.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know
from
what's.
Holland.
I was gonna say I don't know what's going on with this thing. It seems Euro.
Yeah. Do you want to skip your section, or do you want to?
Yeah,
get into
no,
it?
let's just go straight down.
Yeah.
S&M. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's my favorite section.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got the Mad Dog, kind of like not a very beginning Mad Dog, but pretty early, probably what 88.
Yeah.
It's like funny, the original forks, we never had like a dedicated sticker for the fork. Fork didn't have a name.
Yeah.
In the early days of S&M, you bought the frame, you got a fork.
Yeah.
It's a frame and fork
Yeah.
combo. Like we hadn't done the pitchfork yet. Like the dirt bike, look how
Same
creative.
fork.
Look how creative
yeah.
we got here, S&M fork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real creative.
Yeah. We weren't really like killing it with the name game yet. We were just, what is this? What is this? Oh, it's a bike. What is this?
Yeah.
It's a fork.
It's a dirt bike. You
Yeah.
ride the bike in the dirt.
Yeah, I did these graphics myself at the AFA offices, the American Freestyle Association. I remember doing these graphics. I knew as I was making them myself, I was like, these are awful. But you know, they're kind of cool now when you look at them. But these are just rub-on letters, and then I traced the rub-on letters with a Sharpie.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of knocked the rub-on letters in the Sharpie so they weren't lined up.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See where I'm going here? Like, I didn't go to art school at all. And I don't know why I didn't really do it on the frame. Like, on the frame, I traced the rub-on letters with the Sharpie and left it. And then on the fork, it's off center. Like, maybe I didn't even make it off center on purpose. I don't know. I don't really know, man. But then look at the early shields. You know, it was always bicycles made in USA.
Yeah.
Right? And then years later, I was like, man, we're gonna like probably go out of business with this made in USA thing. So someday we're gonna need to make these bikes in Taiwan, or honestly, we're gonna be out of business.
And then,
So
then it turned to American
let's
Bicycle.
change it to American Bicycle Company, so that we leave the door open for stuff that's not made in USA. But it turned out that we ended up starting Fit in '99, 2000-ish.
Yeah.
And we decided to make the complete bikes from Taiwan under the Fit name, so then S&M's never had to be imported.
Yeah.
We could have left it bicycles made in USA, but the logo's changed too. I don't know if you've noticed, but like the shape of the shield has changed a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
the M, the shape, the letter, the actual font on the letters has changed a little bit.
Yeah,
I think the logo's gotten better.
I think so.
I think it's way cleaner now. You know, so this is what do we got going on here? It's not a Widowmaker, is it?
It's a pre-Widowmaker.
Yeah, it's just a cruiser.
Yeah, it's just a cruiser.
Didn't have a fancy name.
Yeah.
Where'd you dig that up?
I traded a dude in Maryland for it, like 7 crates of records.
You traded him 7 crates of records? What
Yeah.
kind of records?
They were just kind of junky records I got at a flea market.
Really?
Yeah.
So just like Earth, Wind, and Fire
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah.
Wow.
REO Speedwagon.
REO Speedwagon, nice. The Holmes, man. This is the hot tempered Holmes right here.
Yeah.
The Haro. So this is a full Haro logo bite.
Ripped off, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I think Jeff Tremaine, the guy that does Jackass now, the producer of Jackass, he just made the Motley Crue movie and all that. I think he did these graphics.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
So he had this weird period in time where he was unemployed between Wizard Publications and becoming like the Jackass guy.
Yeah.
Oh, now before going to work for Steve Rocco and making Big Brother.
Okay.
So he made Big Brother magazine. But in between Wizard and Big Brother, he did graphics, and we were one of his clients.
Wow.
And he did this whole linear guidance system. I mean, look at this. Look at this crap. Linear guidance system. One of them says hot tempered chromoly, right?
Somewhere.
Whole shot velocity.
Yeah. Like, come on. What does that even mean?
It means like you're coming out of the gate just super hot.
Yeah.
You're getting a whole shot with velocity. I don't know. He was coming up with that. Oh, on the top two, hot tempered.
Yeah.
Hot tempered chromoly. Oh my god. And then you got a mix up. You got the weird the Raver dirt bike sticker on the hot tempered chromoly sticker.
I don't know where it came from.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And then you got the Piso pipe seat post too. Oh, that's a crazy mashup of.
Another redneck.
Oh, you got an original shafted redneck.
Yep. And
Oh
then
man.
is this the early slam bar?
No, it's not. Nope, neither one of those are. The early one is like, it's square and it says slam like in red or something. If I see one, I'll show it to you. But no, that's not the first one, but
I think.
still pretty early. Both of these, like, we call them Murray, you know?
The Murray seat stays,
stays.
yeah.
Like, we didn't make that very long. And that's got Prince Albert's on it too.
This one does, yeah.
Wow.
I think I have a set of the early slam bars down there on the TNT, actually.
Yeah, I'll check that out in a
Yeah.
minute. But then you got the dirt. Yeah, there's another Tremaine sticker pack here. Like that started as the Budweiser logo, you know, and then kind of just got changed up.
Was this did you guys get a cease and desist letter for that?
No, I don't think so.
For ripping off Budweiser?
No,
No?
never got a letter from Budweiser. That would have been cool though.
Yeah.
No, this was like a rave. Like this is when Jive clothing was happening.
Okay.
Remember, everyone
Yeah.
was raving.
Yeah.
And raves were just awful.
We have a rave next weekend here in the back.
I'm not. Do you really?
Yeah.
Here?
We ran out the back.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Gotta pay the rent somehow.
Yeah, so the peace sign, you know, the 10 beats stronger. It's just all like bad rave stuff. So the original Challenger right here, this is probably my favorite S&M frame ever made. This graphics pack was actually designed by Magoo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Magoo did this.
And I guess this is a super early pad set with like white stitching.
Yeah, I mean the very first pad sets were white fabric.
Yeah.
Not black. But yeah, and you can tell the logo, it's the old logo.
Yeah.
The M's real fat, you know? But yeah, this had the, this is an odd one. This is a really, like, there aren't a lot of these. So you've got the caliper brake mount hole, but then you also have the thread on canny brakes.
Yeah.
They're not welded on canny brakes.
Do you remember I texted you asking you what those
What
brake
the
balls
thread,
were?
what the thread pitch was. You never figured it
never
out?
figured it out.
And then you've got a fully knurled seat post,
Yeah.
which is bizarre. Because you don't want your seat post
To move.
to slip.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's so, and this is a classic Holmes right here. I mean, you got the era, right? The UGP plate,
The mental Jimmy sticker.
the Cruisin' Chris Hoffman rad pad.
Yeah.
You got the rad accessories pad on here.
Oh, this is the one with middle jimmies.
Yeah, metal jimmies. Yeah, this is Magoo's deal. This was probably another. I mean, this sticker pack that comes. This standing platform dirt bike is kind of a funny one. I mean, this sticker pack came with all these Spanish phrases.
Yeah.
You remember these? Do you know what any of the phrases were?
No.
So there was "eat the shit of a little monkey" was one of them. "Drink the milk of love"
Yeah.
was another one. It was just all this bizarre stuff written in Spanish. What do you got here? You don't have a saying on this one?
No, this is one of the only bikes I had repowdered.
Okay.
And this was like the reissue.
And then you got the Lowrider magazine. This is the full Lowrider magazine graphic.
Yeah. It
That's
was the
where
ones
this
you guys
came from.
redid, I don't know, 5 years ago or something.
Oh, okay. So this is oh no,
And
you got
this,
one right there.
This
See,
one's the
look.
original.
Look.
Yeah.
Yo, see, that's "eat the shit of a little monkey." Does anyone
That's
speak
awesome.
Spanish over here? If you read that in Spanish, it says "eat the shit of a little monkey."
That's so funny.
You know, why wouldn't you put that on a frame? What's it say on the other side? Let's get this down. Can we get this down? Just to read those phrases, because that's something I think is really funny. Yeah, so look at this one. This one is, what is it? Come caca de changuito. I think that's "eat the shit of a little monkey."
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure that's what that says. In fact, check me on that. What's this one say? Colate, ole tomate. I think that's "drink the milk of love," but I could be wrong. Does anyone speak Spanish here?
I don't know.
Can anyone put that in a translator? Someone put that in a translator so we can just clarify that, because that doesn't seem like milk would be leche, right? So this has nothing to do with milk. I have no idea what that says. Someone look that up on their phone. Come on, help us out.
What does it say?
I don't know what to say.
Okay, you're gonna look that
Yeah.
up.
And then tell us about this terrible time in BMX.
Well, you're talking about a headlock?
Yeah, and then the threaded headset with the threadless stem on the top.
Oh, this is like Hoffman Super Fork, King Fork, and
Yep.
then Pitchfork, like threadless Pitchfork
Yep.
era. Yeah, well, this was the very beginning, right? I think maybe Stuart King did it first in England with
Yeah.
the King Super Fork or whatever, right? Or Hoffman did the Super Fork,
Yeah.
and then we did the stupid fork,
Yep.
because we thought it was stupid.
Yep.
But the whole idea was you could use your same frame with your regular A-head or your regular bear trap style headset, and then you had a smooth section of fork that came up above that, and then you could just put the clamp on stem.
Yeah.
But this wasn't the first time this was done. Like Cook Brothers did this, like in 1980.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but they had a stem that threaded down.
Yeah.
Which is tricky, because then how are you gonna get the spacing right?
Yeah. Make sure it's straight.
Right, so this was
Yeah.
like just a takeoff on that. So we were on our way to a full threadless setup, like a headset threadless setup.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah. It's a cool
So
bike.
you got a regular headset, yeah, and then you got this clamp on stem, and then it's super beefed up with like a sleeve in there.
Yeah.
and a whole deal.
I think this is this a King fork and stem? Or is this?
It looks like an S&M
it looks
stupid
like a
fork.
Stupid fork, yeah.
Yeah, so Stuart King had it, and then Hoffman had it, we had it.
Yeah.
You know, a few brands were making that, but it just needed to be even more simplified.
Yeah.
You know, shafted stem was never good. Like
No.
the stem would spin off the shaft. A lot of things would happen.
Yeah.
You know, we did the Wedgie Jackson. I don't know if you remember that,
Yeah.
which would strengthen up the fork down in this area.
Yeah.
And then you also couldn't go smaller with the ID of the steer tube because the stem had to slip down into it.
Yeah.
So it's just like it needed to go. But the A headset was way better. It's a way better fix.
Definitely.
And then eventually putting the cup inside the head tube, like the campy.
Were you guys the first to do that?
We were the first in BMX to do it.
Yeah.
The guy that invented it was a guy, an Italian frame builder named Pinarello.
Okay.
So Pinarello, which is an Italian frame company to this day, Pinarello invented it. He had Campagnolo make the
Yeah.
first headset
I think,
for it, which is
this might be one of the.
is this a Behringer? Or is that
Um,
Neil Wood? What is it?
No, that's the race frame, the RV.
Well, the very first one, like I had the very first one we ever made.
Yeah.
It was my personal bike, and then, but I think the first frame that we ever put it on was a Neil Wood signature race frame. Which
Okay.
this might be it, but whatever it was a race frame. Yeah, this is the very first time we ever did it, and then we did it on Behringer's bike too. The very first one, like I said, was my personal bike, and we had an aluminum sleeve that pressed all the way in the head tube, and then the bearing cup would ride on here. But I mean, the whole concept here, which wasn't met with like excitement, everybody hated it. They thought it looked stupid. The head tube looked like a Coke can, I heard. But the whole idea was like that the cups could move inside the head tube, and you didn't have these cups that pressed into the head tube when you would bend your fork. Now the cups wouldn't be parallel, and then you'd have these tight spots in your bars, and and then the cup would crack, and it would all go downhill
Yeah.
from there. You know, and especially with like the shafted stems, bike with a shafted stem and a
Yeah.
regular headset, you know, your steer tube would bend, you tighten the headset, eventually you would pull the steer tube out of the fork, or you would just pull it apart, and then the fork would fall off, and then you would just,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm glad I missed a lot of that.
Yeah,
Those early 30 years.
So once we went to this, we didn't look back.
No.
But the first ones were campy, and they were caged ball bearings.
Yeah.
And actually, the caged ball bearing versions of these, to this day, I think work better than even the sealed bearing.
Yeah.
But people can't get their head around having a caged bearing.
Yeah.
But the caged bearing would move around, because the cup was called a locator cup, and then the caged bearing would go inside the locator cup, and the caged bearing could move around a little bit and always keep them parallel and keep the
Yeah.
bars spinning really well. And once you go sealed, now they're locked in there,
Yeah.
and they're not able to move like the Pinarello
Yeah.
original design. So, but everybody loves it's gotta be sealed. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Did everybody figure out what this says in Spanish?
No, I gotta.
You got to see it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've got some insane stuff up here, like this LRG, right? Wrap.
Yeah.
That's one of the first wrap frames we ever did.
The story behind that one is kind of wild. I guess New Wood did 2 of those or 1 of those for Shimano for Interbike.
I do. Yeah, that does
And
sound
they
right.
released the DXR line on that frame.
That does sound right.
Yeah.
I remember that. But then we ended up doing more of them and selling them.
The camo wraps?
Yeah.
I don't think, because that's like a real tree.
So that's not the LRG one.
I don't think so.
Okay. Oh, okay. So this was just for Shimano.
Yeah.
It's just for Interbike.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Because Chad Roberts, my good buddy from Montana, always ran the BMX program at Shimano. He would have probably cooked that up.
Yeah.
And worked with me. He even worked at S&M. Like when he first moved from Montana, he worked at S&M.
Oh, wow.
And then he got a job at Shimano, and then he's been at Shimano for
Ever.
decades.
Yeah.
I think he's still there.
I think you used to.
That's who when I need stuff from Shimano, that's who I always email, so I think he's still there. Then he would have worked with Neil to get this wrap done. Oh, that's pretty cool. How'd you get it?
Kind of crazy story. A dude, I guess Neil sold it on eBay, and then another bike shop in Maryland bought it, and then there were two owners of that bike shop, and they got in a fight or whatever, and the one owner came in and pulled a gun and shot at the other owner, and then he went to jail. And then I guess the owner that's still in the shop and was there just called me out of the blue one day. I was like, "Hey, I got this camo frame here. Do you want it?" And
It sounds like it's ever been ridden.
no, there was brakes on it. You could tell there was something on it, but yeah. And then I just dropped what I was doing and drove an hour and picked it up.
You made the right call.
Yeah,
That's insane. And so what's this, a black bike
pretty.
in blue or a Behringer?
Or is that a?
Or an LAF?
I think it's an LAF in blue.
But so we've already gone full hidden set. We're not looking back.
Yeah.
So then by the time we get to this bike, which is the WTF, so we had a lot of these like WTF, LTF, ATF. There's a lot of TFs going on, right? But so this was the the WTF. So what we were trying to do here, it's funny because now we're doing this exact same thing with a fit 16-inch bike, but shorten the fork so the leverage, the amount of leverage from the axle to the crown was less. So we made this big round bend so the fork could be shorter. The head tube got really short, and then so we were less material in the steer tube, so it was lighter. Less material in the head tube, so that it was lighter. Less leverage on the fork so that it was stronger.
Yeah.
But now you're going to have to run this fork with this frame exclusively, because if you put a regular fork on here, you're going to mess up the geometry. There's a lot going on with this frame, and honestly, to this day, I think it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then the enclosed dropouts.
Yeah, the black
cool.
hole, we called them the black hole dropouts because you didn't want the dropouts spreading, and if you ran pegs, and you're grinding, you didn't really want to that to hit.
Yeah.
And if you were pegless and you wanted to do grinds, this is really nice. So a lot going on with that frame.
It was a cool frame.
But it requires a true female front and rear hub.
Yeah.
Not a female hub that has a tiny bit of axle sticking out of the cone. It has to be full.
Yeah, like profile.
Yeah, like full female, so that it can fit in here. But again, it's like, and then the Powell Peralta. I did get a cease and desist on this.
Did you?
Yeah.
Cool.
Straight from George Powell.
Yeah.
The owner of Powell Peralta, like Powell Skateboards. I got a direct letter and an email. The email said, not cool.
Yeah.
He's just like, I saw the logo, not cool.
Just that.
Yeah. But then we got a letter too. So it was legit.
I think that was one of our favorite stickers and two badges.
Yeah, I love that graphic. And I think the skull, we changed it. Doesn't the skull say WTF right on top? Yeah, it does, real small. WTF, but it's pretty much the Powell logo. Yeah. So I got a letter and an email from George. Yeah. And then this one, Big Island did the graphics on this one.
Yeah.
LTF. So this was like, we did the light as fuck, the LAF, which is funny because the LAF had the whole Heartbreakers logo vibe too.
Yeah.
Jason's just brought it back with the
LAMF.
Yeah.
But all of this started from
the HAF.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a pretty badass frame. We saw one at the trails today, 18-inch version. So we've gone back in time on the next gen. This is pretty heavy. This is another one that was pretty heavy. This was one of my favorite frames we ever made.
The PBR?
The PBR. Yeah, I love this frame. But it was pretty hidden set. So you got like a 1991 Holmes.
That was the reissue one.
Oh, reissue, okay.
That we did, yeah.
But as far as reissues go, it's about as legit as you can get because the dropouts are made with the same tooling, It's not like we repopped it in Taiwan from a bike that was made, in California. We went to the same suppliers that made the dropouts in 1990, made these. Really? Same dude.
Okay.
Yeah, Vaughn. The guy's name's Vaughn, and then his kid, Mike. Same dudes. They discuss it. That brake bridge made at the same exact place.
Wow.
That they were the first time. And then what do you got? A menstrual cycle here with the stupid fork?
And wow. And the menstrual stem.
And the menstrual stem, which was like the first knockoff of a Challenger, right?
Yeah.
Or was this?
But it was 1 inch.
But was it a knockoff of the Challenger?
Or was it Challenger
knockoff of
what came
both
first?
Both of them, I don't know, but I'll tell you what did come first was the Flying W stem.
Okay.
So the old school Flying W, you remember the stem?
Like from the early 80s?
Shafted.
Yeah, I have one on that.
That's where this came from.
Because the top looks kind of the same. Yeah.
That's where the shape came
Yeah,
from,
yeah.
was the Flying W stem, which I thought was like super badass. Stem.
Yeah.
That's where that all came from.
I got one of those stems, and all I had to do was build a guy a
Yeah.
set of wheels. He paid for all the parts, and he's like, "Here's a stem for the labor."
So the heaviest fuck was the HAF. Basically, when Standard came out with the Stronger Than All, the STA, which you probably have in here, that was like Standard did the STA, and then we did this.
Okay.
Because as soon as we saw the STA for the first time, we're 93,
Yeah.
right? It's probably 93. We were like, what in the fuck? Like, how can you ride? How can they ride this?
Yeah.
Like Rick and Kurt and like mini ramping, they're ripping it up on this bike, but it was like heavy as fuck.
Yeah.
We're like, we could build, let's just make a bike that's heavy as fuck. That's what we did.
Yeah.
Heavy as fuck.
You call it just like a bike you ride in the dirt.
Yeah.
Like a
And
dirt
then I
bike,
was from like,
simple.
fat fuck.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a like dirt bike geometry, but with the full standing platform and the giant,
Giant
dropout.
dropouts.
Yeah, we always call that the high school dropout.
Yeah.
The menstrual cycle has it too. Like dropouts just couldn't get big enough there for a while.
Yeah. They had to cover the 16 tooth cog in the back.
Right. And this thing's, I mean, this is like a full nod to VDC. I don't know if you have any Boris
Not
Nixon
yet.
frames in here.
Yeah.
But he pierced everything.
Yeah.
So this is like a VDC.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it, it's super strong. It's just, it's not really that pretty.
No.
Well, this is just like a dirt bike with a standing platform.
Yeah.
which
How many
was
of those did you make?
Not many.
Yeah.
It's like a short-lived thing.
And then aren't they super similar to? Was it Homeless that made?
Well,
the same
so
thing?
what happened with Homeless? Do you have Homeless in here?
There's one down here, but it's in.
Yeah, at some point, like Homeless was like one of those brands, that really came after S&M.
Yeah.
Like, oh, S&M's doing really good. We'll just do our own twist on it, kind of thing, right? So they came to the same manufacturer, which was Bassett, like we were just talking about. It wasn't called Bassett, but it was the guys that made the Bassett headers and are now still doing that. But
Okay.
so Greg, the guy that did Homeless, went to this manufacturer and had pretty much the same thing made.
Yeah.
But no one told me. And when one day I went in there and I thought, oh, what are you doing with these standing platform frames? Like, I don't remember ordering these. And they're like,
Yeah.
they're made for someone else.
I think the.
So like George Powell said, not cool. It's like, come on.
I think the only difference between the two really is the brake mount. I think the brake mount on the Homeless are on the.
Well, the
on
biggest
the
difference
seat
is
space.
they're out of business
Well, that too.
and didn't last very long.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There's more to being in business than just trying to make the same
same
shit
thing.
someone else is making.
Yeah.
It's a lot to it. But yeah, it didn't last very long. But I wasn't real stoked. I know that. But
Yeah.
whatever. People aren't like coming after you. You're probably not doing anything. Like if no one's coming after you, you're probably not doing anything.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it's kind of good.
I've kind of always said that if you make everybody happy, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, if everyone's loving you,
You're doing
it's because
something
you're
wrong.
sucking.
Yeah.
That's just how it is in everything,
Yeah.
really. So is this a medal that we made?
I'm not
Probably.
sure. Did
Seems
you
like
make the
it.
dagger?
We made quite a few metal
I mean,
frames.
it looks like it has a
Yeah.
American.
I would
made-
say we made this one, but
Yeah.
we didn't make this one.
No.
Because I don't remember this.
I think Pedal Driven Dave made that.
Yeah, so Dave, that's Spooky Dave?
Yep.
I can see that. Yeah, Spooky Dave probably made that.
This was the one they just did recently for Jimmy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
These FBMs, we had a lot to do with FBM in the early days, like Brock and Dave. So when Spooky Dave worked at FBM in the early days, Brock and Dave both came out to California, stayed at my house, and tried to, they wanted to know how to make frames like more efficiently.
Yeah.
Like they knew how to weld, cut tubing, whatever, but they didn't know how to like set up the shop so that they could get more efficiency out of it.
Yeah.
So Brock and Dave came and stayed with me, and me and Jason basically taught them, like showed them everything that
Oh,
we
wow.
did. Yeah, so
Okay.
there was always a lot of like, I always felt like FBM was like the East Coast, S&M was the West Coast,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like ever a real competitive
Yeah.
vibe.
Okay.
It was always really friendly.
That's cool.
I felt like.
Yeah.
So
What about with Standard?
Well, when Standard
Standard?
first came out, when they first started in '93, they really kind of jocked out on us. I mean,
Yeah.
Rick was like kind of jockey, and they tried to bully us almost and make fun of us, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't. It just didn't work. Like, I wasn't. It didn't bother me. I thought some of the stuff they were doing was funny, but then I'd clown them, and it was even worse. And I think after a couple of those back and forths with the print ads and things, I think Rick was like, "Oh man, these guys, like, we'll just leave them alone."
Yeah.
Because it's just going to get uglier. You
Yeah.
know? And I remember at one point at the height of the standard S&M, rivalry, people called it, I went to Davenport and I just showed up at Standard one day by myself. Did you ever hear about this?
No.
So I went to Standard. I was visiting Paul to Paul, who's on the other side of the river, at BMX Racing Zone in East Moline, Illinois. And I just decided, I'm close to Davenport. Just going over there. See what these guys are up to. So I go over there by myself. They were on like the second floor of a building.
Okay.
It was odd.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever went there.
No, not
I had to
that
get
one.
an elevator.
Yeah.
I went up the second floor of the building, and the elevator opened up, and I was in Standard. And there were a couple of dudes standing around. There was like a little warehouse area, and there were some bars and frames on a rack. And the first thing I did, I walked in, and then all the faces, the guys were like, like, what's Moeller doing here?
Yeah.
Right? And I walked over, and there was a rack of bars, and I remember like running my hand over the rack of bars, and it was covered in dust.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, these have been here for a while, and the guys are like, and then Rick came charging out of his office and got me out of there like instantly.
Yeah.
Just instantly. He came charging out of the office, and he was like, Moeller, let's go. And then next thing you know, I'm in his truck, and then we're at Rampage, and then we're all over the place.
Yeah.
He just wanted to get me out of there.
Yeah, so you can see.
As quick as possible.
Yeah.
But that was the end of the rivalry.
Yeah.
So it was never really that intense.
You guys are cool. Talk to each other.
Yeah, I mean, now we DM on Instagram
Yeah.
quite a bit. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I haven't talked to him in person in a while, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's again, it's like they were coming at us because they thought we were like owning it.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, they thought they were going to clown me, but I don't know. Like prank call me.
Yeah.
I've been prank called by everybody. Like,
you sell Harrows?
yeah,
You have any
Harrows. Yeah, well, I was talking to Crandall about that today. It's like, back before Grant started BSD, he used to prank call me all the time. And he was an S&M kid. He loved S&M. Then he started BSD. Crandall used to prank call me all the time. And then he started FBM.
Yeah.
And then these guys are all prank calling me and trying to make fun of me, and I never was phased.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were all like S&M dudes.
Yeah.
And then they started their own brands. But they all kind of started by riding S&Ms.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's cool.
Yeah. And we're still going.
Yeah. Here's we were talking about these earlier.
Yeah.
The early,
That's the Fit Complete.
No, it's the Holmes.
Oh, the Holmes, but that's the
22.
the 22.
Yeah.
But then we did a Fit Complete.
After that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That had the same graphics pack. But didn't say Holmes.
No.
Said Fit.
It's a Fit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, sometimes we just do like short runs of stuff. I mean, look at the Stricker. The Stricker that's a sweet bike. You got the early 38 special. Yeah. You got a lot of good stuff here.
And then we missed down there is like Call Girl and Bennett's and
Jeez. Yeah, like the frames really that was like an interesting era where you could do a bunch of cool stuff on a frame, like this Bennett frame. Get these wishbones, top and bottom wishbone. That bottom wishbone's real big and flat on the top so the brake clears.
Yep.
Get the big drop, the pierced top tube. Some of this stuff's coming back though.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the LAMF, it's got the bent and pierced top tube. REA's got a new frame that we're working on right now. He's just got the sample. The sample's actually at the paint shop right now. His frame has a pierced and bent top tube, and it has a bottom monocycle.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Cool.
so it's like very mid school. Like we haven't gone like full Sabbath style,
Yeah.
kind of front end like this. It's more of a, straightforward flat gusset kind of a design on REA's frame, but it's definitely a nod to this
Cool.
era. Which I like, cause
Ari is awesome.
yeah, Ari is.
geeked out in here too.
Oh, he came in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he has respect for the old stuff and has knowledge like of the old stuff. Because he's around Shad and his dad. His dad was an old school rider too.
Okay.
So yeah, he understands it and likes all this old stuff. And for me personally, man, the frames get kind of boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everything looks exactly the same. You know, I'm not saying we need to throw, what is this, a Titan?
Yeah.
It's a Titan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying we need that, brace across the seat tube, but at least stuff was more interesting. So I think that's coming back.
Yeah.
Some of these, this probably, best-selling BMX, aftermarket
PK
BMX
Ripper?
frame of all time, maybe,
Probably.
or could have been if those guys were a little more, had their shit together a little bit more.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like the most hyped up frame. I heard when they first came out with that frame, they had like 3,000 back orders.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, insane, and it's American made.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn cool.
Here's some early fits.
Fit completes.
Yeah. What's that blue one? There's a series. I think it's a series 1. Series 2.
That's series 2.
And then is that gray one next to it as series 1?
Man, it has no brake mounts on it at all. They said an Edwin.
I don't know what that one is.
Like the first non-brake mount frame, like not so old that it came with a hole in the seat stay bridge for the caliper, but the first sort of relatively like more mid-school frame with no brakes was the Edwin.
Yeah.
That's probably an Edwin. If
That's
it's
cool.
a fit.
Flip, when Flip was here, he was like, I swear we built this bike. This bike had to come from our shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we did the Series 2, and then the Series 2 Aiken was the first fit with the integrated.
Okay.
And then the Series 3, which
Yeah.
was Aiken's frame, which was like maybe to this day, maybe one of the best selling frames that we ever made in our shop.
Yeah.
Like there was a point in time where I think we make 300 of those a month.
Wow.
And then nothing like that's happened ever since. Nothing really even close. Every month, like consistently, So this is like an early race frame with that integrated. So this would be the RV. This was like my go-to frame for years.
Yeah.
That Challenger with the V brakes.
Yeah.
I like the V brake version of it. And you got more stuff than I do.
I've been told.
I have a lot of frames, but they're all boxed up. You can't just go look at them, and they're not built up with all the parts, And you're pretty much like period correct with all the parts.
Yes. When we get I don't really change much when we get a bike.
Yeah, this is odd. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Carbon fork.
Whoever put but this is the half dank. This is like the half dank bong.
Yeah.
The bong fork. Like you turn your fork into a. Oh no! Here's the half
Yeah,
dank.
here it is.
This is every time I say something in here, it's like right next to me.
Yeah.
This is the actual half dank fork that we made. Did you guys ever see the half dank? The Hannabrink?
Yeah.
So this guy, Dan Hannabrink, he's like an inventor.
Yeah.
So he's made like a lot of cool stuff for mountain bikes, I think dirt bikes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he also made this,
Which is
which is just dumb.
yeah.
Right? So the story goes, I went into Ride Magazine and stole one of these forks. So one of these forks was in someone's, Keith Mulligan's office.
Yeah.
Sitting there because they were going to do like a product, expose on it, or I don't know what they were going to do with this thing. But anyway, I stole it, took it back to the shop, and then we made an ad, which was a how-to take this fork and turn it into a bong. And it was a working bong. Like we cut it, we drilled it, we put a little, like a bowl in it, it had to hold water, couldn't leak, and we smoked weed out of it. And we made an ad out of it, and that's what got us kicked out of Ride Magazine.
Yeah.
This fork got S&M, and actually got S&M kicked out of Ride because Brad said he wouldn't put the ad in the magazine. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, because it's for sale at Barnes & Noble or Walmart or whatever.
Yeah.
And we can't really show you guys turning a fork into a bong. And I said, well, that's dumb. And I called him some names. And then he said, fine, well, you're just kicked out. And I said, well, that's fine. So then I was working with Robbie doing fit at the time. And so I sent Robbie over there. I said, Robbie, go over there and smooth it over and, at least get fit ads back in the magazine. And then Robbie went over there. Robbie talked to him, and then he told Robbie, look, I know what you're trying to do. I know it's all the same shit.
Yeah.
That fit's kicked out too. And then Robbie came back and said, no, I couldn't do it. I couldn't get in. So then I decided, well, F these guys, we'll just make our own magazine.
Yeah.
Which we did. I don't know if
Yeah.
you have faction magazines. Do you?
Yep.
Well, we started our own magazine, but we call it BMX Action. Then we got a cease and desist from BMX Action.
Yep.
And then we changed the name to Faction. But the reason we started the magazine is because we got kicked out of Ride because of this fork. So this lame ass fork, started a cool magazine.
Yeah. And then how
So-
long till you were?
And it was called Have Dank. So this one's called Hannah Brink. Ours was Have Dank.
How long did it take you to get back into Ride?
Well, a couple years later, they called me, and I think our magazine was starting to kind of get traction.
Yeah.
It was doing better. People were advertising, whatever. We were probably taking money, from them. And that guy Todd Toth that worked for Brad, he called me and said, "Hey, whatever. Let bygones be bygones. If you guys want to advertise in the magazine, you can." And so we did. And then John Paul took our magazine to Philly, and then it just kind of petered out anyway. And then that was the end of that.
Yeah.
Then we're back in Ride. But we had a pretty good run with the faction, BMX Action faction.
Yeah.
And it all happened because of this
That's so funny.
goofy ass fork. And then the ad, and then the names, me calling
Yeah.
Brad names, which he didn't like.
How about these the mono?
Oh, the monococks
Yeah, with that we're
Yeah.
just welded together, two pieces.
with
of,
like emphasis on cock.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's Brian Lopes rode pretty good on,
Yeah.
a lot of, John Whipperman, all these dudes, they're flying on these. Mario Soto.
Yeah,
Like
Soto's
these
one of
guys
the
were
best.
ripping on these bikes, so they're rideable.
Yeah.
It's not my cup of tea. I don't like bikes that make weird noises when rocks bounce up into them.
Yeah.
But the technology's there. Think about what's happening here. You crash, right, and then
bars
the bars
can't
turn, and then this crazy tube hits this monocoque. The whole fucking thing's gonna fold up like a it's like a beach chair. Look, this thing's gonna hit that, then that's gonna fold up, and then now what? Now what? You can't even do a cross up. Like, what if you
what if
you want to
you
do?
wanna do a
What if there's a
cross-up?
photographer on the side of the track? You want to do an X up? You can't do it. And then look at your seat clamp. That's gross. But hey, more power to them.
Yeah.
Like I said, dudes were flying on those bikes for a while. These bikes here, these crazy Specialized. When companies like Specialized are coming into BMX, there's
And copying the style, that style's old.
Yeah, I know, but at least they're coming into BMX. Like there must be business
Yeah.
to be had. They're not in it now.
No. And when they had Christophe Levesque with those S-work frames, those S-work frames were
Well,
rad.
everything Specialized does with S-Works is top of the line.
Yeah.
It's like back in the day when Schwinn did Paramount,
Yep.
Paramountain. That was our top of the line. Skunk Works, whatever. It's like their secret shit.
Yeah.
He was flying, but you know what else he's got on?
S&M
Slam bars.
Yep.
Yep.
How many pro riders rode slam bars but then put their own?
I think they all did.
Every single one?
I think so at one point.
I remember well, I guess I shouldn't say it.
But I did mess with a few people with the slam bars back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember Dave Cullinan got hired by Cannondale, I think, to ride for Cannondale.
Uh-huh.
And he wanted some slam bars, but he thought he had some that were I don't know, he wanted slam bars. So I took slam bars out in the parking lot for some reason, because I wasn't feeling Cannondale, if that's what it was. And we drove over them with the van.
Yeah.
Flattened them out.
Yeah.
Made them awful. They had 11 degrees of back sweep
Yeah.
or whatever. And we just flattened them. And I sent them to him. And then very next weekend, he had him on his bike at the national race out in California, Coal Canyon, and he won everything.
Yeah.
Just cleaned up.
But now that's what racers want.
And then a couple months down the road, and I thought I was I thought I was messing with him.
Yeah.
A couple months down the road, he called me up. Was like, "Can I get some more of those really flat bars?" I was like, "Oh my god!" I helped the dude out.
Yeah. And
I was trying to mess with them.
That's what everybody wants now.
Do they?
Yeah, real flat race bars.
Okay, well, I'll have to get the van out and start driving.
Just
over
drive it
some
over
bars.
them.
You got any bars in stock? Can we
Yeah.
just drive over some bars? Let's do it. Let's sell some bars.
Here's a.
Oh yeah.
Earlier.
What is this? This is the Bitchin' Camaro.
Yeah.
Bitchin' Camaro. The what is it? Dead Milkman. Dead
Yeah.
Milkman song. It's a great song. It's a great frame name. We saw one out in the wild today.
Yeah.
It was a Survivor. Saw one kid take a lap on it, set it down, no one picked it up again.
Yep.
I don't know what was going on there. I thought maybe people were gonna start riding it, and he took one lap and he just quietly
Yeah.
kind of set it down.
Said I took my lap. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know. I love the name though. It was like American made, right?
Yeah.
All their frames were American made.
Yep.
Pretty sure.
Yep.
I mean, they did the parts thing overseas for a while.
Yeah. Then they made some complete bikes for a minute.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right. And then what was the parts brand? What was
Nice.
that called? Nice. Yeah, John Paul was working
Yeah,
on that,
yeah.
right? But yeah, I mean, it's sad that there is no more FBM. I keep telling Crandall, I've told him a few times that we should do like a limited edition run of like frames for them, and we should call them SNFBM. You know?
Yeah.
Kind of S and FBM in the shield.
Yeah.
SNFBM.
That would be cool.
Limited run. T1s, we made these for a while.
Yeah.
We made quite a few T1s.
That was Justin Emmons' terrible one before you guys started Fit, or before you got on Fit.
Really? Is that what he rode?
Uh-huh.
Wow, I didn't know that. This is his?
Yep.
I had no idea he was on a T1. Wow, we poached a lot of T1 riders back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the original concept for Fit in '99 was to keep it real small. That was the idea. We were going to keep it real small, grassroots. The first team was Inman, Bostrom, Aaron Bostrom, and Robbie, obviously, and then, Nate Hansen?
Okay.
I think that was the team.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Inman was on the T1 at that
Yeah.
time. But then, obviously that keep it small, obviously, morphed almost instantly into BF, Dan Homan, Mike Aiken, and then more T1 dudes like Hawk. Got Hawk.
Yeah.
Like young Hawk,
Yeah.
14-year-old Hawk was on T1.
Yeah.
But, I don't think Joe always realized, I think Joe and Taj were like, they knew they weren't gonna like be able to pay these dudes or whatever. So I don't think it was ever like a bad. And then years later, we got Dugan, another T1 rider. But we had a lot of FBM riders over the years too. Sherbo was an FBM rider. Tony Cardona, Cam Wood.
Yep.
All these dudes, like they would start on FBM or T1 or whatever, then end up kind of riding for S&M or Fit down the road. It's just, we all had the same taste in riders, I think.
Yeah.
Like Joe and Taj and Steve and all the boys over there, like we all liked the same dudes.
Yeah.
So if they couldn't get what they wanted, or they couldn't,
Whatever it was.
they couldn't travel or whatever,
Yeah.
then, we would try and bring them on. So, but we always have kind of had like the same style, I think, in riders.
Yeah.
Whereas these other, like some of these other bigger brands had they were looking for something different. Like, the rider's whole shot was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a different rider. I don't know who they were looking for. Look at that bike.
Yeah.
Like someone rode it.
Yeah.
Who would ride that?
A lot of dudes from New England, from the Northeast.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like something dudes would ride in Arizona,
Yeah.
where it's hot and they're just like spun out.
Do you know Chippendale Bikes
Yeah.
in New Jersey? They had a lot to do with that company.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you name one person that rode that?
Phil Donnell.
Oh, did he?
Yep.
Okay, I can see that. I actually can see that.
Yep.
With that stem too.
Probably.
Yeah.
Actually, I have one of his.
Oh my gosh. I look at a lot of these parts and I just remember the ads we made clowning these parts.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever see the piston?
I
stem
probably
ad?
have, but
No, the ad was we ran it in the NBL paper, and it said like, this isn't NASCAR, or this ain't NASCAR. And then we had a piston from an engine, and then we had a regular stem, like a S&M race stem, and we were like, this is a bike, it's not a car. You don't need a piston holding your handlebars, you need a stem. And so we had a whole ad for that stem.
yeah.
It is a weird stem. It's like, let's make a stem that looks like a piston from an engine. Like, it even has like a ring.
A ring in the front.
It has like a ring slot in the front.
I mean, it worked. A lot of people rode those.
Really?
Yeah. And they're pretty sought after now, too, especially the ones that are made in USA.
How about that frame? Is that thing sought after?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, for real.
By who?
Nerds.
Wow.
I shouldn't say that.
That is
Oh,
wild.
here,
Yes,
you-
take that out. Edit that out.
Yeah.
Oh, this is endless, man. Like,
Dude.
we're gonna be here till like midnight. This is insane. This is insane. We got
it
Aaron
says,
Ross's bike. Is that his actual
No, it's
bike?
not his actual bike. He keeps all of them.
Oh my god, man. Whose bike is this?
Nobody's. This is a old Shelby, and then
Yeah.
here's a photo sheet with.
Well, this is a Shelby James signature profile.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And like, you know, Shelby James is probably this big now.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, how young was he when he rode this?
And then on here is.
What is this? A moto sheet?
Yeah, and there's Shelby James is on it. Shelby James.
Who else is in that moto? I can't read any of that.
So Danny's brother was in here, Timmy Nelson. You met Danny with the gray beard.
Yeah.
His brother raced him. But let's see, Jack Clare, Billy Ellis, Brad Cashwell. I don't know any of these other names. Ryan Cox, Christopher Anderson, Justin Green.
Justin Green.
Yeah. Timothy Willis.
Well, chances are Shelby won that moto.
Shelby 111.
Well, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect for the day. Wow, that is insane. You have the moto sheet. These shield wrap hubs. Talk about retirement.
Right?
People would offer you.
I've gotten offered a good
Christian
good
Regal. You know who
Yeah.
Christian Regal is? He's always trying to find those.
Yep.
Yeah, that's your. You know, if you were luckily, you're not like addicted to cocaine or something, because that shit would be gone
Yeah. Yep.
immediately. You would have sold that a long time ago. Yeah, you got some wild stuff, man. I love coming through here. It's like a lot of it just reminds me of like folding fork
folding pegs,
standers.
yeah. And then those pegs that helped you
Yeah.
lock into a rail. They
Hey.
needed those today.
Do you know how good that would have worked today?
I know.
That cost somebody $250.
Yeah. Only if they
Yeah.
didn't have straight pegs.
If somebody could have derailed the cinema van,
yeah.
you know, like I don't know how you would derail those guys from even getting to the jam.
Yeah.
But if somebody could have like created a fake detour or something on the road, you know, and told
Yeah.
those guys like road's closed.
Yeah.
Or someone could have just sent a text or something and
Yeah,
said like,
jam's
oh,
over.
jam's over.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they would have put those pegs on. They would have made $250.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they
That would have
didn't.
been so funny.
Chad Curley got the money, you know? Rich get richer. The rich get richer. You know, get smart, kids. Get yourself a flared peg. You know, learn to create a fake road construction sign.
The Liberty peg, I think is what those were called.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's like cheating,
Yeah.
but a lot of people don't have a problem with cheating. Oh, you know what? I think we made this bike.
Oh, the tandem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I think we made that bike for the Odyssey guys. That's funny. Nice deck, blind skateboards deck. Rack my brain on the name. You know, this is blind skateboards.
Yeah.
Rack my brain on the name that shields your eyes.
Because you're blind.
Because you're blind.
Yeah, yeah.
Shield.
Okay.
Eyes.
Yep.
Blind.
Yep.
That's why I get the big money. This right here, man. What a whole deal this was.
Yeah.
So this guy, the guy that started Supreme hit me up and said, hey, at 95, I had this S&M bike. I loved it. And, you know, I want to make another one for Supreme. And I was like, okay, it's going to be challenging because we make American-made stuff. So this is an American-made bike. This is the only American-made S&M complete we've ever made. And
Yeah.
we set up a whole production line for this.
Yeah.
I think we made like, I think we did 300 of these, 500 of these.
I think it's 500.
500.
I
But
don't
these
know.
things sold for upwards of like, you know, thousands of dollars.
Yeah. I think they retailed at first was $1,700,
Yeah.
and then immediately people were selling them for $8,000 to $10,000.
Yeah. And I sold them to them, I think, for like $850 or something.
Yeah.
But for me, the whole, like the challenge of doing this project, and I didn't know anything about Supreme. I'm not into that whole, you know, like street culture,
Yeah.
whatever, sneaker. I'm not a sneaker freaker or whatever,
Yeah.
sneaker culture guy. I didn't know anything about Supreme. I just knew that I wanted to see if we could do it. Like set up an assembly line. So one guy gets the frame, then the other guy puts the headset in it, and then the other guy does this, and you have all the tools, the pneumatic tools or whatever.
Yeah.
And we put everything on carts, and then the carts would come by, and we had like 20 guys all set up, and then at the end of the line, you had this bike, but fully packaged up and in a box. and
Yeah.
that was the goal. And we pulled it off, and they came out great. And all the stuff I sourced, you know, just like to the guy's specifications. Like he wanted this sprocket, he wanted this gear.
Yeah.
Like everything was the Supreme guy's deal. He wanted all this stuff, and I made suggestions. But at the end of the day, he got the exact bike that he wanted, that he had, like in '95. And then we redid the logo, the pad. Look, it even said Supreme in the pad.
Yeah.
Like Flight printed these for me up in Oregon. Actually, they printed them in Southern California. They've since moved to Oregon.
Yeah.
But all this stuff is pretty much American made, as much as it can be. And as soon as we did this, like COVID hit, everything got shut down.
Yeah.
All the Supreme stores got shut down. And then the dude sold Supreme.
Yeah. But it
all happened like right after this. We did this bike, then COVID.
Well, maybe he was just waiting so he could build this bike and then close.
These bikes were supposed to be in the front windows of all the stores, like Japan, New York, LA, wherever the stores were. To this day, I've never been to a Supreme store.
Yeah.
But these bikes were supposed to be in the front window of all the stores.
Yeah.
And I knew that this brand had like, you know, a big following.
Yeah.
And people would love it. And look, we even printed Supreme on a seat post clamp. I mean,
You
look,
actually-
the seat even says Supreme.
And you
The
actually,
shield, look at this. The embossed seat says Supreme. That's insane.
yeah, and the redneck stem.
Oh, it says Supreme
Yeah.
too. I mean, that's American made. This bike is wild.
Yeah.
The shield, right, look at the
Supreme
the
shield.
screw on shield. I should have kept 10 of these things, and I should have sold them all for 10 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
then-
didn't. I didn't keep any of them.
And then right after this is when you did the chainsaw, right?
Yep. Yeah, because we recreated the sprocket that he wanted.
Yep.
And then it was so nice that eventually we just redid it. Now, why do you still have this thing?
Because it's cool. You wouldn't be talking about this if I didn't have it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. The look at this. The Budweiser.
Yep.
Hey, come on. Shield your eyes. See what I'm up at late at night? I'm just like sweating late at night. Like
You wake up from
Budweiser. Budweiser.
What's that,
What do you
like-
mean? What? Because it's Budweiser, and it's a visor. It's the Budweiser.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And then it was like, yeah, no one cares about that. Whatever.
See another set of the whole shield kit
Yeah,
with
that's crazy.
the stealth hubs.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. Like I ran those hubs, and that's how that happened.
Yeah.
So I started racing with those hubs, and this company that did this wrap. So there's a couple different wraps here. There's the profile wrap, which doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And that's their supplier. Like they had a company that did wraps.
Yeah.
And they never looked good. See how the yellow, everything looks translucent?
Yeah.
The yellow looks greenish. Look at this stuff over here. All looks really good. That was my guy. And that company that did that and did all these, did the metal. Well, that's Dan's comp.
It is.
Wow,
Yeah.
you got Dan. I was going to say it was Metal Bikes, and then it dawned on me that was Dan's comp. So we did that for Dan's comp. We did the camo credence. The company that did all this just one day, no, we don't want to do it anymore.
Oh wow.
They still won't. I hit them up every couple years. They're busy with guns. They do a lot of guns. They do a lot of other small things that they wrap. They want nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
And we were spending a fortune on that
I
stuff.
bet you were.
It costs like $13 to wrap the stem in the
Just one?
cap.
Yeah.
$13
Wow.
just to wrap them. Like you could make the stem and cap for, I don't know, 20 something,
Yeah.
right?
And
Like
then-
raw
Yeah.
before you do anything, put bolts or packaging or whatever. But like it was almost as much to wrap it as was to make it.
That's crazy.
It was insane. But people loved it. And I mean, I loved it. But yeah, now, and there's no other company that does that,
That kind of
process.
process,
And
yeah.
everybody thinks it's just like the hydro dip. It's not. It's not hydro dip. Hydro dip's like you put the part in the water, you bring it out, but it's always gross on the backside. There's like
Yeah.
all these weird seams on the backside. This isn't hydro dip. This is a totally different process. And it's like a proprietary process that this company does. So whoever Profile had doing that, I really should hit those guys up and ask them. I know it never looked good,
Yeah.
but that's not our guy. Like
Yeah.
they did that on their end. Because when they sent me the hubs and then I had them dipped or had them wrapped, they
Yeah.
looked like these. And that same company is the one that did like that camo frame.
Oh, where
Yeah,
it's at?
that same
Okay.
company did that camo frame.
Okay.
And so at first it was like we could do anything over there, and then the tanks got smaller, and they couldn't do the frame anymore, and then it was like, oh, now they don't want to do it at all.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at now. But look at this. You've even got like the original S&M stickers.
So this Mad Dog sticker sheet, I was told it was original Mad Dog sticker sheet.
It looks like it, man. See where it's got the registration marks?
Yeah.
That, to me, that is an original sticker sheet.
Yeah.
Because it's like kind of poorly printed. It's got the registration marks on it. It's just this big, blocky, square, sheer
Is
cut.
that how, do you remember if that's how you got this sticker?
Yeah, that's how they
Okay,
came, for
okay.
sure. And then later we got slicker. Now we do like die cut stuff. See how it's got like the steel rule die to make the shapes. Like that's how things went that way eventually. But yeah, in the early days, it's just sheer cut, just registration marks on the sticker.
Okay.
I think that is original.
Cool. How many of those?
I mean, people do knock those off, but they don't knock them off that well. Well,
Yeah.
they didn't until now.
Now
They will be.
How many of those have you seen?
Not many.
How many? How many?
I have a K9 design one.
Yeah. How many do you think you gave out back in the day like that?
I don't know. We didn't sell them, and we didn't really give them out. They only came on the frame.
Okay.
You've
So
got the lunatic. Like, what's written here?
What's
Someone wrote something on there.
I don't know. But you know
Yeah,
what?
that's
You
not
know
on-
what? You know why I have that?
Yeah, because the bass player's got the S&M hat.
Yeah.
I remember when she got it. I remember when she got that hat.
And then I have a right here a Prince Albert box
Yeah.
and the Prince Albert cranks with the paperwork.
But the box, I mean, what do you have the can for? That
I
didn't
don't
come. We didn't send the
No,
can out.
I found that at like a junk store.
Yeah, I know
Prince
the
Albert.
box is sweet. The paperwork's like all that's really cool. And even this is like crazy that you have this. But she got that hat from my friend John, rest in peace, John Newtone from Philly, because they're from Jersey or New York, and they came out to California, and John was out there, and she liked the hat, and John gave her the hat. But you ever look at that hat? It says S&M hat.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? It's an S&M hat.
To go with the S&M fork.
Right,
That's
I know.
not
See,
afraid.
I don't always come up with Budweiser. Sometimes I'm just like, it's just a hat.
Was this the last? Did you get a cease and desist from Louis Vuitton?
Yeah, I not only got a cease and desist, I had to pay him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that
that
one
sucks.
sucked. That one sucked real bad. And it's interesting, still not done. Like, it's not a done deal. So that was originally Brandon Began. Began loved that.
Yeah.
Right? That's before he was a scumbag. He later became scumbag, but he used to like this, like, Louis Vuitton whole deal.
Yeah.
So that's how it all came about. But then I think he quit the team or something, right? And then it just became like FB instead of BB.
Yeah.
Because it was
Okay.
BB at first.
Really?
Yeah, it was
So there's
Brandon Began.
there's two different seats in it?
Yeah, because, we had all these head tube badges that were BB for Brandon Began.
Okay.
Or maybe he wanted that seat, but he just wanted it to say FB. I don't know. But something that was all Brandon Began era.
Yeah.
Stuff that he wanted to do. So yeah, I got the cease and desist. Then the lawyers got into me. Then I had to actually give them money. It turned into a whole deal. It was a pain in the ass. But if you look now on like our B2B site, there's a Fit Brown seat.
Yeah.
They're almost gone. They're those seats.
Okay.
Because I had so many of those seats on order
Yeah.
that luckily they hadn't printed that on the Brown.
Oh, really?
So then I just changed the name of that to Leroy Brown, but they had already like cut the shape of the fabric. They hadn't printed it yet. So I said, okay, I'm not going to back out of my order. I ordered all this crap.
So
or
you
these,
just don't print it.
just don't print it. Just put it on the seat and we'll just sell them as Brown seats.
Wow.
And those are still available now.
Yeah.
They're called Leroy Brown. I could have probably printed something else on there, but yeah, that was not.
That's kind of cool. I never even realized that.
Yeah, it was. That was one of those weird ones where it was like, oh man, not only did we get cease and desist, but I actually have to like cut them a check. And I had to do that with Ride Magazine too. I don't know if you have any of the Ride BMX stuff that we did, or Ride S&M.
I have.
Remember they were Ride BMX,
Yeah.
and then we did Ride S&M, and I actually had to pay them too.
A Ride S&M had somewhere too.
Yeah, I actually had to pay them for that a little bit.
Somebody brought me that from your 20 year.
30 year.
Was that?
That's 30 year.
The hot dog ramp?
Yeah.
Okay, that was the 30-year party.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so somebody brought me that from your 30-year party.
Yeah. That was a great party.
Yeah.
That was the one where there were like 2,500 people there.
That's crazy.
It was a camp out at the motocross track. Yeah, you got good stuff. And it's like just interesting stuff too.
Do you recognize this or know this?
Man, I'm gonna say that's like, I feel like that's probably a Behringer's frame.
Yeah.
before he was on S&M.
Yep.
Did he have it all stickered up like that before he was on S&M?
Yep. And then he, this was his front flip frame, and he won like the fuse or the fizzes dirt and got us in place in the street, and he sent it over to us.
Wow.
Yeah, he needs some spokes. So I just asked him, I was like, you got something cool to send? And he's like, yeah, I'll send you this.
Just recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably building his new Behringer Tallboy.
Yeah. And that's also his, what is that, the next gen? This was his bike too. He sent me both of these.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, getting him on S&M was something I really wanted to do, but it took, you know, like he was getting paid pretty good by these guys.
Oh, I bet.
But I was able to, because of Snafu, as a Magoo, I was able to work with Magoo to get him, you know, to pay Matt more, and then I paid him as much as I could, and then together S&M and Snafu kind of got close enough to get Matt. But imagine if you're Matt and you're riding this just hunk of shit. I mean, look at this pile. Look at this thing.
Yeah.
Like he was riding this.
And
Look at
riding
the back.
it good.
Look at
And riding it good
yeah,
too.
look,
Like,
pick it up. Pick
dude,
this up.
right?
How is he riding that?
And doing front flips.
Yeah. This isn't that much different from the whole shot frame. It just doesn't have all the,
All the holes in it.
cut. Yeah, so Matt was riding that.
Yeah.
So to him, even if I came in a little bit lower with the S&M and the Snafu money together,
Or the better bike.
he was probably like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I will do that in a heartbeat. I probably could have given him less money. I mean, if I'd have known how crazy this bike was when I made that phone call, I probably would have offered him half. But I didn't know. I was just like, dude, look at the size of this dropout.
Talk about your dinner plates.
That's a high school dropout.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that all about? Oh, and you got the GT bash guard in here. You have a core bash guard?
No.
See, you got some stuff, but you don't have it all. You need the core thrash guard in here. That was the first one. That was the copy of the core.
Oh, here's the pegs they really needed today.
The rollers? Oh, dude, that would have locked right on.
Yeah.
The Blammo, whose bike is that?
It was my this kid that raced on my race team. It was his dad's.
Wow. It's a Bandito. This just came up the other day at some interview I did with the guys at Dirty Knobs, because when I was a kid, I used to get beat by a girl when I first started racing, and she rode one of those bikes.
Yeah.
And we always, because look at the.
You got two different dropouts on the front
Yeah.
and
So
back.
what is going on here? Like, okay, if you go on this dropout, right? This is what your bike looks like. Now, if you go all the way to that bottom dropout, what's going to happen? The bike's going to the bottom bracket's going to come up, and the front's going to get steeper. And now you're just going to be like up here and super steep.
But then you could just move your front wheel back and make it even worse.
Make it even worse. So you could have like the worst ever bike.
Yeah.
A kind of okay bike, and then then you come down here, and it's still. But you know what's crazy about it is it's still look at how high the bottom bracket is.
Yeah.
It's like a monster truck, and you're already in the top spot.
Yep.
You're only going to go up.
It's so crazy.
It's
And
terrible.
then the bars.
Look at the bars. I mean, I don't know, man. This is what's crazy about BMX. It's like something. Sometimes people just remove stuff that needs to be there, and then sometimes they just add stuff that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
You know, like perfect example. Look at this bike here. Like, look at the handlebar and look at the boss bar. Like,
Yeah.
look at these bars. Oh, let's just add a crossbar in, right?
Wow.
You don't need it. And then look at the slingshot. Let's just get rid of the down tube.
And put some cables.
So I don't know it doesn't seem that difficult to me. It's like, you don't need two crossbars, but you do need a down tube, and you don't need like multiple slots in your drop.
You need 4 dropouts.
Yeah, so then you just anywhere you look, anything you look, you just look at the S&M frame. It's like, or the bar, 1 crossbar, 1 down tube,
Yeah.
2 fork legs. 36 spokes. Like, you don't need 5 spokes,
No.
but you don't need 48. You just need 36.
We still get
You're
asked a
fine.
lot for 48 spoke wheels.
Well, look at this. Look at that. That's a lot of spokes.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know, man.
Because the rims were so crappy.
Yeah, so they made better rims, 36 spokes. I mean,
Yeah.
you could even do with like 28. I used to run a 28 spoke wheel.
Yeah, 28 whole front wheels are not
Yeah, like
uncommon.
the Diamondback or Turbo Light. I used to
Yeah.
run the Turbo Light wheel, 28 spokes. You don't really need that many spokes.
Yeah.
This is the first good race. This is the first bike I ever raced on, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. Racing. I don't remember mine being that big, but I mean, what year is that bike from?
Probably 78, 79. Might be 80. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, so maybe they got bigger. Maybe mine was, I don't know. Maybe I was smaller size. Maybe they had like an expert or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was an FMF. That was a racing. That was also a thrust. No, there was another brand that pretty much made that bike. Like there was one guy making those bikes, and I think he was selling them to other people.
Just different stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like FMF for sure was that bike.
Yep.
And then there was another name. I can't remember what the other one was too, but
Was it start with a D? And didn't they have a gusset that had holes in it though?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a bunch of little holes.
I want to say thruster, but that's not what it is.
No.
Thruster's like Jersey or something.
Yeah.
And then what do you like? Is this just like your freestyle has exploded? Everybody import
make
a
a neon
piece of
color.
shit bike
Yeah.
from China
Yeah.
section. That's
Yeah.
an interesting
Like
section.
look at this. Talk about nice bars.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
They didn't add anything extra. They just bent them a whole bunch.
yeah, yeah, but it's almost like they just from a manufacturer standpoint, it's like they had a night shift in the shop, and the manager came in the morning, and the sweep is all wrong because this is supposed to be in line with the front. Like this is just like a basic dyno bar.
Yeah.
Right? It's supposed to be this bar. And the guy just messed up the machine overnight.
And
And
made
then
hundreds of bars.
Run like thousands of
Yeah.
them, right? And then the guy came in and was like,
That's cool.
just twist them back
Yeah.
and then just weld them up.
Or they were like,
Like, why not?
Or they were
Why not?
Or they were mountain bike bars
Right.
that just got welded on sideways.
No, I think, yeah. and then they're like, well, okay, Doc, did you stand all over this bike? And they're just stand here. Like this is for standing.
Yeah.
We stand here and then
you grab
we
your seat.
grab here. I mean, like what is going on, man? You got Billy Griggs' jacket?
Yeah.
Oh,
He sent me a
wow.
whole bunch of stuff.
How'd you get Billy Griggs to send you all this stuff?
With money.
Oh, you had to pay him?
Yeah. But it was a lot of cool stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that makes sense. Love Billy, but
Yeah.
that makes sense. What else do you got over here? Yeah, more of the like. This is the era that S&M started right here. This is why S&M started.
Yeah.
In 1987, this is what was happening.
Yeah.
And when I worked at the magazine, I was the test rider. They would honestly be like, "Okay, we're gonna ride. Like this is the bike." One of the first bikes I ever tested had these crazy wheel discs on it.
Really?
Yeah, the Raleigh Reflex. It was called the Raleigh Reflex. What is this
so
bike
bad.
called?
The Huffy Vortex.
Yeah, well, Reflex, Vortex.
Vortex, yeah.
It's all.
At least this one was made in the USA.
No, it wasn't.
It's right here, made in the USA.
It's just a Huffy?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it was. They had a thing in Dayton where they had
Yeah.
a factory where they actually made bikes. And I've met this old dude recently actually that worked in that factory and made like all the tooling for stamp like punch presses
Oh,
and
cool.
stuff like that. And he's really smart. And they actually made some good stuff for like high production.
Yeah.
You know, like the way they do it in Taiwan
Yeah.
and China. Like it's a lot different over there. You know, like a lot of these. You know, like to take the like these, you know, like when you miter a frame, like what this is one of Mike's frames, you know, like a layered frame. When you miter a frame here in the States, you know, we'll like hold the tube and take a hole saw and cut, you know, the miter or the fish mouth into
Yeah.
the tube. Overseas, man, they just punch that.
Really? And keeps the tubing straight somehow?
Well, you know what it does? It kind of like, it will, it tends to dent the tubing on the side that the wedge cutter comes in from. And when I first started doing like fit complete bikes over there, I would obsess on this shit. That's why I was over there in Taiwan so much back in the early days of fit.
Yeah.
Because I would obsess on this stuff. And I would come up with things like, okay, if you're going to punch this tube, punch it from the bottom, and then we'll put the gusset over it.
Yeah.
And then this gusset will cover the part where it's kind of like dimpled.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna punch it here, we'll put a gusset on the top and we'll cover the part that's dimpled. And I would do stuff like that all the time. Like
Yeah.
the dropouts, you know, we laser cut them here, but over there they'd stamp them.
Yep.
I would create a left side stamp and a right side stamp so that when they got stamped, the outside edge would be rounded, the inside edge would be square.
Okay.
and then it would be symmetrical. So on this side, you'd have the outside edge would be rounded, the inside edge would be square. So then when you looked at your frame, you know, they looked symmetrical.
Yeah.
That edge was kind of knocked off. That edge was knocked off. These edges were flat.
Huh.
And we were like I was the only company who was doing stuff like that. And so when other brands, you would look at their bike, this one's rounded, that one's rounded. It just make the whole thing just visually,
Look crooked.
it looks crooked. It's not crooked. It would ride straight. It just looked crooked.
Yeah.
But I was like over there 4 or 5 times a year, 2-3 weeks at a time, obsessing on all this crap.
Yeah.
But those early fit completes were like, you weren't used to seeing bikes that nice
Yeah.
as completes.
Yeah.
And the prices were still good, but the bikes looked really good.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of little things like that I was doing, you know? Like I don't know. Like this is Laird, he makes a good frame.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking his frame, but like I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
I just can't deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that one either.
I can't. I mean, that's like full. That's full Taiwan.
Yeah.
They're just like, you know.
I'm not
you
sure
know,
this
oh,
is.
sprocket, no clear. Hit.
Yeah.
hit.
Take up Alpine.
No, they're just like hit. You know.
Yeah.
We're like whoa, no. We don't want to. No, we don't want to hit it. Why can't we? Can we just like bend it different, or like what's going on here? Is left side drive this must, you know, this is, knowing Mike, and he is a craftsman, this is probably a custom bike.
It was.
For someone that's left side drive and wants to run like a 44.
Yep. That's exactly
You
what
know,
it
and
was.
he's like, dude, your rear end's 13 inches long.
Yeah.
And you want to run a 44? What are you Pistol Pete?
Yeah. And
You don't need a 44. It's going to hit. You got, so how big can I run? 33? No, I want to run the 44. Okay.
Yeah, that's funny that you looked at that and could tell.
Well, because
that.
he wouldn't put, I don't think he'd put that in there.
Yeah, that's exactly what that was a custom order frame for somebody, and he got it and
Yeah.
didn't really like it after he ordered it, and then now it's here.
Oh, the guy didn't like it?
Yeah.
After he put
Not-
the 45 on there?
Yeah, not anything from Mike, not any fault of his, but
No, I mean, he just makes what the
just
guy
makes what
told him to
Yeah.
make. I'm just saying, like, forget about that example. I'm just saying on this crap,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
mass produced. And we're talking about like 1,000 of these frames coming off a production line
Yeah.
every single day
That's so crazy.
or more.
How many?
Like people don't even sit down to weld; they stand up.
Yeah.
And the frame just comes down the line. It's like your job is to weld that top tube to that head tube, and that's it.
That's it.
And then you just pass it to the next person, and they weld
Yeah.
the other tube, and it's just like for like 12 hours a day.
In the
insane.
height of BMX, how many BMX bikes do you think were sold?
Like annually?
Yeah, like
Well, I think brands like this, like okay, like by the time Hutch went over there, they were done.
yeah, yeah,
Like they, the family, the Hutchins family had problems with the company here. By the time they went over there, it was like short-lived.
Yeah.
Right? It was almost done instantly.
Yep.
Same with Skyway. I feel like Skyway went over there, it was like done almost instantly.
Yeah.
Diamondback did a little better. General did terrible. They were done like almost instantly
yeah.
too.
They were real short-lived.
Haro obviously has probably done better than
Yeah.
anyone. I would say at the height of Haro, I'm not a huge industry expert, but I would say 20-inch freestyle bikes, maybe 100,000 a year.
Really? When
Yeah.
when do you think that would have been?
I mean, I would say it's
In the
like this era.
like 87.
it's the
88?
what were they called? The Master, the
Yeah.
Sport.
Yeah.
It's probably that era.
Did you ever ride a Master or Sport? Or
No, I tested a Haro. I tested a few Haros, but
Yeah.
they were never the freestyly Haros. They would give me like the Group 1.
the race bikes? Yeah.
Yeah, like more of the single, like double diamond,
Yeah.
regular frames, not these standing platform frames.
Look what you're about to step on
Is that the front end for the Patterson?
for the Hutch Pro Racer.
Oh, the Hutch.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
Yep.
I mean, we have a lot of fixtures in our shop. What's crazy is like how just it's like agricultural, it's like very rudimentary kind of,
Yeah.
and then somehow they've engraved the word pro
Yep.
into it. Like, why? Like, that
So
seems
they-
overkill.
So they knew which one it was.
Yeah, but couldn't they have written, like, they
Yeah.
probably could have just like
Put a sticker on it.
put a sticker on it? It
Yeah.
just seems like, especially for
Just
that
put
era,
a sticker on it.
because
Yeah.
there's no like CNC machine. Like somebody
Sat there with a hand engraver. and-
somehow,
Yeah.
how'd they do that? There was no CNC machine.
Here's this was the ESP.
Yep.
So was that one a little bit different?
It's a
from
little bit different,
Yeah.
but it's like similar. The ESP, like the what was that? Eddie Sigmund.
Yep.
Eddie Sigmund, like I think it's a guy from Texas, racer. I think he's passed away actually. I think he's my age, but I think that's what ESP was. Eddie Sigmund products.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I don't know.
I think it is.
so.
But no, I'm talking about what the guy's name was, like Marty Ined or something. He
Yeah,
did the Flying W.
It looked almost the same because I think people confused these two, which
Yeah.
I guess I did.
Well, they were like very small, numbered. It's like this was cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't stuff you could just find at your local bike shop back in the day. You kind of had to know somebody, or that's pretty fancy stuff
Yeah.
for the time.
This Astron was a company from around here where you are now. I'm
Really?
pretty sure.
Colorado?
I'm pretty sure it's out of Colorado.
I've never seen that before.
It's from like 83-ish.
Oh, that's
But it was
interesting.
a VDC build bike.
Really? Oh yeah, look,
Yep.
pierced.
Yep.
If it's pierced, it probably came from VDC. That dude Boris Dixon, he loved to pierce. He liked
Yeah.
to pierce everything. I don't know why. And you don't have any VDCs in here, huh?
Mhm.
Did we ever find out what that Spanish said?
Yeah.
It's gonna be foul, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it foul?
Yep.
What is it?
It says, "Shut up or I will kill you."
So yeah, eat the shit of a little monkey, drink the milk of love, shut up or I will kill you. I think there were a few more, but at least,
That's
we,
so
got,
funny.
at least we got to the bottom
Yeah.
of that one.
Oh, this is a good one.
Shut up or I'll kill you.
I asked Google and I had to send to a Spanish dude to get confirmation.
Oh my
Is
god.
Google lying to me right now?
I remember this bike actually.
Yeah. The square seat post.
Yeah, but there's something else about this bike that some track masters I thought, I can't remember what it was. Oh, it's the eccentric bottom bracket.
And
So-
the fixed rear
Oh, and the
dropout.
fixed rear dropout.
Yeah.
So this is pretty cool stuff. Like this is stuff that like RRS,
I'm
like,
pretty
really-
sure-
RRS ended up doing, Riverside, Redland, Schwinn,
Yeah.
RRS
I'm
did a
pretty
lot
sure
of this
they
stuff.
made Trackmaster made him for RRS.
Oh, they did? Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because here's what's not cool about this bike. It's pretty creative, right? As a manufacturer, I look at this bike and I'm like, oh my god, like the square seat tube. What if it's not perfectly straight? There's no, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the seat can spin on the round part at the top.
Yeah,
But-
because they didn't want different guts for the seats.
Right, but I mean, like, what if you don't want to be in one of these positions? Now where are you going to be? You don't want this sharp
The sharp bolt.
bolt, this bolt hanging out of the nut. That's weird.
Right?
So I wasn't, I didn't
In
love
the
that.
bottom bracket. The concentric
The other
bottom
thing I
bracket.
don't love about this bike is, and VDC did this too, because VDC used to like to pierce the top tube and
Yeah.
the down tube on the Changa bike, like the menstrual
Uh-huh.
cycle. So he used this is a 10-speed headset.
Yeah.
This isn't a regular
Yeah.
BMX headset. So this is smaller.
Yeah.
So these cups are smaller, the steer tube is smaller. Dudes that rode bikes with these headsets just broke them instantly.
Yeah.
They just, because this is a 10-speed headset,
Yeah.
it's smaller.
I mean, look at how much it's flaking off right there.
Yeah, it's smaller, they bent, they broke. Nobody liked this. But what I did like about this and the RRS bike too was the enclosed dropouts.
Yeah.
I thought were pretty cool. But because this is a fixed dropout, that's a true dropout. A dropout is called a dropout because when you loosen the wheel, it drops out.
Yeah.
It doesn't drop back. It's not called a drop back. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
a dropout, and that's why it's called a dropout. So this is a true dropout. But regular bikes have derailleurs that take up the chain slack.
Yeah.
So you leave the wheel fixed, and the derailleur takes up the chain slack. So how do you take up the chain slack? Look at this crazy thing.
You twist the bottom bracket.
It moves around. And so when you move it up, it tightens the chain. And when you move it back, it loosens the chain.
But also
But
raise and lower your bottom bracket.
what if you don't like the geometry?
Yeah.
But up here is the same as down there as far as the distance.
Yeah.
So you kind of are getting like the Bandito effect here. It's like, do you want it low or do you want it high? And then once you decide if you want it low or high, do you want it forward or do you want it back?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But did people even think about that stuff?
I don't know, but the weirdest thing is you have to clamp. You have to clamp
it
the
on the
bottom
bottom.
bracket shell
Yeah.
to tighten the cones. like to tighten the whole. That's a Euro, but it's a European bottom bracket, but you have to tighten this pinch to tighten the cones in there. So I don't know, man. There's a lot going on there. Just to get the dropout.
Yeah, and that's just from a tandem.
Right. That's why years later when we did the WTF, I liked the black hole, what we called the black hole dropout, because it was enclosed, but it was slotted.
A little bit, yes.
It had a little bit, and the slot, the distance was like calculated based on the most popular gear ratios
At the time, yeah.
and chain links, and then half links if you wanted to run one half link.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's some cool stuff going on here, but again in BMX, it's like the way the market works. A lot of it's like who brings it out, how they bring it out, not really what they bring out. So one company brings something out, and it's like, you know, oh, that's the stupidest thing we've ever seen. And then another company brings the exact same thing out 10 years later, and they're like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing we've ever seen. You know, somebody just brought that out. You know, a good example of that's like these like 990 brakes. Remember in the 80s when companies started like bringing out 990 like U brakes, and even some companies were putting them on the chainstays, and everybody was like, "This is the dumbest thing ever."
Yeah.
And then when I came out, when I first made bikes, I just went back to calipers. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a dumb company at this time, a dumb frame, imported, it's gross, it has all this like, you know, stuff going on with it, but it has U-brake mounts on it.
Yeah. They feel pretty good.
And then when I come out with a frame, I just go backwards in time and come out with a full, you know, single pivot side pull caliper. Because I was like, I just don't want to mess with all that weird mountain bikey stuff. But then as riding changed and people needed more braking power because they wanted to do like Fufanoos or Bubicas or whatever, now all of a sudden the 990 comes back.
As a pit bull.
Yeah, well, no, companies were bringing, actually had, some of these bikes actually had just regular AD 990s, like right there. That bike, whatever that is.
Schwinn Predator or Freeform.
That has a regular AD 990 brake. It's just upside down, which is funky. But as soon as they put them on the chainstay, back in the 90s for mid-school bikes, that's what everybody wanted.
Yeah.
But it's all like who brings it out, when they bring it out, and how they bring it out.
Yeah.
You know, and how they package it up. Like, is it just a gimmick, or is it something that's, you know, actually helpful for the way we ride? You know, like all this, I mean, look at this craziness, right? Like everybody wanted to spin the bars, but look what you had to do to spin the bars until Brian Skura invented this doodad. Yeah. You know, Brian Skura invented that, but prior to him inventing that, look what you had to do to spin the bars. And have this crazy thing. Now, how you had to have your stem. It's crazy. You know, and even these, you know,
those sucked.
they've gotten a little simpler, but they're
still the same exact thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But now you can do that with like a hydraulic brake.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. Or you can just take your brakes off.
Yeah, ride brakeless.
Which is what people do. That's how brakeless started, is because people couldn't true their wheel. They didn't know how to true their wheel. The brakes rubbed all the time. Yeah. Brakes didn't even work. Yeah. And then the rim was always rubbing.
We get a lot of old school dudes come in and we're like, how come none of these new bikes don't have front brakes? I'm like, because the rear brakes work fine. Yeah. Like, you don't need two brakes anymore.
Right. But you could do cool tricks with the front brake.
Yeah.
Like the Flip was doing.
Trails.
Yeah, not the trails, but I mean, Flip was doing
Flip. Yeah. It was awesome watching Flip ride.
And don't forget the first front flips
we're slamming on the front brakes.
Front brake assisted, you know? Yeah. Wow, so we've like worked our way through this thing. Yeah. Pretty much. I mean, we missed a lot, but we saw a lot too. What do we have? Todd Steen's uniform here? All S&S, or Marty Sheehan? Who are we talking about here?
I don't think it's anybody's. Okay. Actually, yeah.
Wow. FMF over there?
Yep. No, it's CW.
Oh, the yellow and red CW? Yep. And Boss? Whose Boss jersey is that?
Where is the Boss jersey? The Boss jersey is somebody's.
This is Dusty Wiedemann?
Yes.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, I drove up to Maine and picked up a whole bunch of stuff from him, actually.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, here's those super early S&M bars. Yeah. You have your hand on them? Yeah. Was this it? Just said slam bars?
Yep, that's it. Yep. That's the original. That's another, that's me. Even if I rub on letters.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, that you didn't have computers.
Yeah.
This is pre-computer. So you would get these rub-on letters and you'd put them on these art boards, and that would be the first color. And then you would have a clear plastic overlay,
Yeah.
right, that was taped at the top. And then you would do the second color, and then third color, and so on. It was all overlays.
Okay.
And then you would take pictures of all that in this big camera. It's called a stat camera. And then it'd spit out these films. And then the printer, the actual screen printer, would take those films and make a screen out of each layer,
Yeah.
which is a individual color. And then just like with your carousel, you would just screen print the sticker just like a t-shirt. That's how you did all the art.
That's so crazy.
Well, there were no computers. It was
Yeah.
pre-computer. So all this stuff, like pretty much everything you have in here is like, a lot of it's pre-computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if they weren't rub-on letters, they were like hand-drawn letters, you know? Even your old magazines were made like that.
Yeah.
Artboards.
It's so crazy.
It is crazy. There was no computer. It's a whole
It
different.
took so long. It took so long.
It took a long time, yeah, but it was cool too. I mean, everything was more hands-on
Yeah.
back in the early days, and you know, you could do all of it yourself, really. Which,
That's true.
I mean, it made it for me. I was in 11th grade, you know. Like, you know, I didn't have a Photoshop or InDesign or what do they do? I don't even know what they do graphics in, you know.
Yeah.
Photoshop, who knows?
Photoshop, I guess.
Something, but yeah. All right. Well, what else do we got?
I don't
We pretty much
Yeah.
went through it, huh?
Yeah. Here's it's more little whole shot junior racer. They're rear triangle jigs. That's BF's X Games helmet.
Wow.
And then Alan Foster's Airwalks uniform.
Oh, that's cool. We got DKs at Neil's.
Yep.
I wonder if we made that.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that era, we were making frames for a couple of these companies.
With like the
Yeah,
we
made.
okay.
I bet we made that.
Yeah.
We also made TJ Lavin's Specialized Fat Boy.
Okay.
Fat Boys.
Yeah.
So those bikes that we were looking at over there that looked like crazy, but not
Yeah.
not the monocoque ones, but ones that just have big tubes.
Yeah.
So we made Specialized bikes for TJ when he rode for Specialized for a while.
I don't think I realized that.
We made Neil's. We made frames for Neil
Yeah.
when he rode for DK. I mean, we made frames for the Giant BMX team when they
Yeah.
had like a big freestyle squad.
Yeah.
Like Woody Itzen was in charge.
Why am I drawing a blank on the dude's name that?
I don't know, but yeah, we made bikes for them. So we were making stuff for other companies because
Yeah.
the riders needed, you know, something stronger or better, lighter, stronger,
Yeah.
whatever, combination of lighter and stronger. And then these other brands just couldn't, they didn't have manufacturing, you know, in-house.
Yeah.
So they were having to, like say Neil wanted a different geometry on a DK, he would have to go to Billy and they would have to draw it up and send it to Taiwan, and it would take months to get a frame back where we could have a frame in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Who was the first company or person you made a frame for that wasn't an S&M frame?
Yeah, that's a great question. When we started making frames around 2000, on our own, I think 99, 2000 when we made our first frames ourselves. Geez, I don't know, maybe that's Specialized. I don't know. Like, that's a really hard one to. I know over the years we've made like production stuff, mainly handlebars for tons of people.
Yeah.
You know, Primo, FBM, T1. I'm sure DK, Hoffman Bikes.
Yeah.
Like Hoffman sometimes comes out with these like
Mm-hmm.
crazy bars.
Yeah.
We made those.
Okay.
We do a lot of these like retro bars for guys that you see online nowadays, like, you know, Al's Rapid Transit, like a lot of V bars,
Mm-hmm.
Cook bars with like the crossbar that's, you know, bent down on both sides.
Yeah.
Geez, even like Nowhere bars.
Yeah.
Some of those crazy bars, like,
We sold a handful of those.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're pretty good at making bars for people, but frames, yeah, I don't remember who the first one was. That's a great question. Can't even remember. I
Yeah.
would say probably that Specialized for TJ
Yeah.
might be the first one we ever made. But as far as production runs, geez, maybe T1.
Yeah. With the barcode.
Yeah, we did T1. We did metal. We did quite a few different brands. I don't know if we did FBM. I don't think we did FBM frames. I know we did
Yeah.
FBM bars, but
Yeah. There's another
Yeah.
Widowmaker.
Yeah, I saw those pictures of the guys showing D. Schneider, the Widowmaker, the other day. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then you've got the Eastern bikes. Is that titanium?
Yeah.
It's got the hole in the seat tube and the
I bet it
head
rides like a
tube.
noodle.
Yeah, titanium. What I remember, because I rode some when I tested for the magazine, I remember it being really flexy.
Yeah. We rode some titanium forks for the race team and it felt like a noodle.
But it's super light,
Yeah.
right? Oh, wow. And that's got bearings in it, too.
Yeah.
And this thing, feel this thing.
I know.
It's feather light.
Yeah. And apparently that's Dave Muir that signed these tie bars.
Really?
Yeah. I guess the kid had them on his bike and I don't know why they asked him to
Yeah.
sign those or not, but yeah, this is crazy.
I kind of remember Eastern bikes. Like when I think of Eastern bikes, I think of the 25.9 on the complete bike.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Were they one of the first ones?
They
that
were
did
like
it?
the first
Yeah.
company that did the 25.9 on the
On
complete
complete.
bike, which meant that you had to do the cassette hub because you couldn't do a freewheel.
Yep.
And then but the cassette hubs were terrible. They were like half loose ball, half sealed. Remember this?
Yeah.
And then they would all
Yep.
blow up,
Yep.
and everybody was like trying to come up with
A
like
good
a
solution.
cassette that you could put a 9 on that didn't cost $1 million.
Yeah.
I remember that being like Eastern's thing, but man, this is awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I can stay in here all night. You guys want to order dinner?
Yeah.
We'll just hang out here.
Thanks for this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get it in there.
Sick. Oh, definitely.
Now that I know what you got going on over here, I might, on occasion send you some additional stuff.
Okay.
I do get cool stuff sometimes on like I'm not gonna sell it. Like
Yeah.
that attic sprocket. What am I gonna
Yeah.
do with an attic sprocket? There's a few little S&M things you need in there. You need the core thrash guard.
Yeah. I'll find one somewhere.
It's the first one. It's the first
Yeah.
bolt-on, and you don't really have like any of those.
I don't really have
80s bash guard frames.
No.
When the Haro GT bash guard wars were going on, you don't
Yeah.
have those.
Nope. I have probably the closest thing I have one is a Wilkerson airline.
Yeah.
That would be that same area that you would bolt the bash guard on, but yeah, I don't have any bash guard bikes. Yeah.
Well, thanks for showing me around.
Yeah. Thank you. That's sick.
Dude.
Yeah. That was perfect. Was it worth the wait?
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I'd be here all night.
Yeah.
Every single one of those bikes got a story.
Yeah.